Good morning, everybody. Consider this your friendly 5-minute warning before we begin. If you need to refresh your coffee, grab a tea, find a seat, please do that now. I would also kindly ask if we have any student presenters that are with us in attendance today, if you could kindly check in at the desk to the side of the gymnasium. Again, that's any student presenters, if you could kindly check in at the desk at the side of the gymnasium. And again, we'll start in just about 5 minutes. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. See a lot of smiling faces and hugs, and I would encourage you to please take a seat. Find a seat if you haven't already. If you're in line to get that cup of coffee or tea, feel free to finish that up, but we will start in just a moment. Well, good morning. Oh, let's try that again. Good morning. There we go. On behalf of Sheridan College and the City of Brampton, I'd like to welcome you to day one of the Summit on Improving the International Student Experience. Thank you for taking the time to be here today, either in person or tuning in virtually to our live stream, which is on YouTube. So if you have friends and family and colleagues at home, and you'd like to say hi to them, just tell them to search Sheridan College on YouTube and maybe wave your hand at random and they might see you. My name is Sheldon Pereira, and I am Sheridan's Vice Provost for Student Experience and Enrollment Management. I'm also a former Bramptonian. I used to live in the H section. And when my family moved to Canada, I had just formally finished up as an expat student, as an international student. And when we landed here in Brampton, the first thing my mom did was she signed up at Sheridan to be a student herself. And so this is a topic that's near and dear to me personally as well as professionally. I have the honor of serving as your MC over the next 2 days. And before we begin, I'd like to first take a moment to recognize some of the dignitaries we have in attendance today. Firstly, Federal Representative Ms. Sonia Sidhu, Member of Parliament for Brampton South. Provincial Representative, Mr. Graham McGregor, Member of Provincial Parliament for Brampton North. And to all of our guests, panelists, moderators, colleagues, members of the media, and the many students, most importantly, both international and domestic, who have joined us today, welcome. As is our custom here at Sheridan, let us first begin with the traditional land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that this territory is covered by the Dish with One Spoon Treaty and the Two-Row Wampum Treaty, which emphasize the importance of joint stewardship, peace, and respectful relationships. As you may be joining us virtually from different territories, we also acknowledge the many diverse nations and territories you are joining from today. We recognize the land on which we gather has been and still is the traditional territory of several indigenous nations, including the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, the Wendat, the Métis, and the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. As an institution of higher learning, Sheridan recognizes and embraces the critical role that education must play in facilitating real transformational change. We continue our collective efforts to recognize Canada's colonial history and take steps towards meaningful truth and reconciliation. Miigwech. Thank you. This morning, we're kicking off what I'm certain will be 2 days of honest, thought-provoking, courageous, and hopeful conversations on how we can work together responsibly and respectfully to enact meaningful change for international students in our communities. You'll hear diverse perspectives from a range of stakeholders, international students themselves who are at multiple stages of their post-secondary journey, as well as community organizations, post-secondary institutions, government representatives, and researchers. We will share and learn from best practice case studies from national and international jurisdictions and sectors, and most importantly, we hope you have come prepared to roll up your sleeves and engage in conversation and debate, and that you'll share your ideas, strategies, challenges, and recommendations for action with those in attendance today. We are very grateful to the City of Brampton for their partnership in co-hosting this summit, and to our sponsors, Our platinum sponsor, Guard.me International Insurance. Our gold sponsor, Centennial College. And silver sponsors, St. Clair College and Nadia Wen. Let's give a hand to our sponsors. I'd also like to note that through your summit registration fees, we were able to collectively raise over $4,000 for Sheridan's Student Emergency Bursary Fund. So thank you again for your support. These funds will help students experiencing financial need cover costs of necessities like rent and groceries, or to pay for resources to complete their studies. As you look around the room, I'd like to point out you'll see we've invited many of our student leaders to help facilitate the discussions during the summit and record the takeaways from your great conversation during the next 2 days. You may also see one of our student illustrators take graphic notes during the sessions. You'll want to take a peek at them on any break that we have today. Can we have our students just give a quick wave? Where are our students? Come on, put your hands up, wave. I swear they're here. These notes will become the foundation for a key long-term outcome of the summit, the Brampton International Student Charter. This charter will become our roadmap for making Brampton a best practice leader in supporting international students. Before I welcome our next speaker, here are just a few housekeeping notes to bear in mind today. A beverage station is at the side of the room. Please help yourself throughout the morning. Washrooms are just outside the doors at the back of the room, or just a short distance down the hall, out the doors at the front of the room. On your tables, you will find a Wi-Fi code with access instructions. A phone and laptop charging station is available at the registration desk where you came in. And for your safety, please make note of the nearest exit to your seating area, the 2 sets of doors on my wall to the left, and the door behind me. I always wanted to do this. Behind me to the right, all exit directly outside. And now it is my pleasure to invite Sheridan's president, Dr. Janet Morrison, to say a few words. Welcome, Janet.
Well, so thank you, Sheldon, and good morning, everybody. Welcome to Sheridan. I'm so pleased to welcome you this morning to the Improving the International Student Experience Summit here at our fabulous Davis campus in the city of Brampton. This is actually Sheridan's first home. We opened our doors here in 1967, and it's our largest campus. We welcome about 7,300 learners to this community each year. Today, the Davis campus is home to some of Sheridan's hallmark programming, disciplines that prepare graduates to make an impact right here in this city and beyond. It's home to our Center for Advanced Manufacturing and Design Technologies and our degrees and diplomas in applied health, engineering, and community services. With support from the City of Brampton, Davis will also be home to an expanded world-class Center for Healthy Communities, where we'll train the next generation of nurses and allied health professionals with a shared vision for culturally competent care, chronic disease management, and preventative medicine. I'm reminded that the last time many of us were together in this gymnasium was during our COVID-19 community vaccine clinic last summer, where we administered over 35,000 doses of vaccine. The Davis campus is also home to thousands of international students, and that brings us to our discussions over the next 2 days. International students are at the heart of our learning community. Despite the challenges they face far away from family and friends, they come to us confident that post-secondary education in Canada will fuel their dreams and a better future. This inspires all of us. More broadly, international students are critical to the culture and the economics of our country and to the fabric of all of our campuses. They enrich our classrooms with diverse experiences, ideas, and perspectives. They make our communities vibrant and embellish the rich tapestry of our multicultural nation. We are humbled by their immense courage and their devotion to their educational and their life goals. At present, over 8,000 international students from more than 110 countries call Sheridan a home away from home, whether they study in Brampton, Mississauga, or Oakville. Our goal is to provide them with a world-class education while ensuring their overall well-being. Sheridan is proud to offer long-standing holistic supports and resources to help our international students address mental health, food insecurity, housing, and immigration matters. In the 2021-2022 academic year, which was not a typical one, our international students in a time of urgent need received more than $4 million in financial aid through a variety of scholarships, bursaries, and awards. Earlier this year, we introduced an entrance scholarship for international students who begin full-time studies in spring and fall 2022 or winter 2023. We also expanded our work-study program with support from Scotiabank's Scotia Rise program to increase opportunities for international students to gain the critical Canadian work experience they need to succeed. Much, much is being done, not just here at Sheridan, but across the province, and yet a lot more work remains. So drawing on my 3 decades of experience as an educator, a leader, and a mentor focused on positioning all students to flourish, here is what I know about this learner demographic, regardless of where they're enrolled. So first, I know that international students typically come to Canada with big dreams and more courage than I could ever muster. I'm routinely awed by their resilience. Second, many carry an incredible burden of expectation. Third, they face obstacles that are atypical of the domestic student experience and are often very wary of accessing resources. And finally, there is a solid body of research that can and must inform best practices for supporting international student success inside and beyond the classroom. The challenges faced by international students are wicked. In other words, they're complex, with many interdependent factors. In the same vein, they demand a deep understanding of the issues and the stakeholders. The only path forward is one grounded in innovative, creative, and collaborative problem solving so that we can offer comprehensive, coordinated, and holistic solutions. It's a shared responsibility that demands our collective and immediate action. That's why in the fall of 2021, Sheridan and the City of Brampton convened a roundtable to engage community leaders to work together to suggest holistic interventions. The roundtable, our advisory group, met 5 times over the fall and winter. It identified interventions that could help international students at all stages of their learning journey. It worked to define the problems, identify gaps and barriers, share existing research, knowledge, and lived experience, and propose ideas and solutions. It set the stage for the discussions we will have over the next 2 days. So I'd like to take just a moment to recognize the members of the Roundtable for their deep commitment to international student success. As I read out your name, please stand if you are able. Gurpreet Malhotra, CEO, Indus Community Services and co-chair. Bill Boyes, Fire Chief, City of Brampton and co-chair. Baldev Mota, Chief Executive Officer, Punjabi Community Health Services. Rowena Santos, Councillor, City of Brampton. Janice Sheehy, former Commissioner, Regional Peel. Sean Baird, Commissioner, Region Appeal. Dr. Kate Bingham, Acting Medical Officer of Health, Region Appeal. Chief Nishan Duriappa, Peel Regional Police. Dr. Rardy Van Heest, Vice President, Medical Affairs, Research and Academics at William Osler Health System. Sharanjeet Kaur, Executive Director, Toronto Metropolitan University School of Medicine. Todd Letts, CEO, Brampton Board of Trade. Jaspreet Kaur-Bal, Ontario Vice President, World Sikh Organization. Sinthusha Panchalingam, Clinical Director, Canadian Mental Health Association, Peel Dufferin. Jaspreet Singh, Founder, International Students Association. Dr. Amira El-Masri, Director, Center for Global Education and Internationalization. Rajan Sandhu, VP, Strategic Alignment and General Counsel, Sheridan College. Christine Zustastek, VP, External Relations, Sheridan College, and Numan Khan, AVP, Government Relations, Sheridan College. Please join me in a round of applause for this group's extraordinary work. It's an impressive table. So throughout the summit, we're going to hear directly from international students and subject matter experts. We'll consider best practices, we'll plan for action, and we'll talk about measures of accountability. Before we are done, we will draft recommendations and commitments on key themes. Our discussions will form the basis of the Brampton International Student Charter that will include shared principles, actions, and a mechanism for accountability, all purposely designed to fuel holistic international student success. Of course, a summit of this size and complexity takes a small army to plan. And to that end, I just want to acknowledge very quickly the people who worked tirelessly to pull together this opportunity for dialogue and knowledge exchange. You can hold your applause on this one, but I am going to go through everybody. So, Rupa Desai Triluk Aker, yay Rupa. Christine Zustastek, Nauman Khan, Kira Shimhovich, Maria Lucidu Beasley, Christine Hasler, Sunan Sharma, Elena Sheik, Shelley Barr, Christina McKay, Kristen Vanderwater, Vitusha Oberoi, Denise Latch, Jane Lever, Rochelle Hindler, Ashley Duncan, Sarah Murphy, Erica Shaw, Kimberlyn Porter, Natasha Grantstein, Carolina Salcido, Daphne Simone, Megan Cashty, Marianne C. Lucero, Patrick Naval, Cameron Wood, Darren O'Malley, and Teresa Berg. Thank you, colleagues. Small army. Small army. And look at all the students that are here today to share their experiences. Thank you so much. So colleagues, this is a unique opportunity. We must engage today and on an ongoing basis in crucial conversations, and we're all accountable for the transformational change that's required. I'm confident that our shared commitment to improving the international student experience will be an impetus that fuels far-reaching reforms. So thank you again for joining us today. Welcome to Sheridan.
Thank you, Janet. I'd now like to invite Sonia Sidhu, MPP for Brampton South, to the podium.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Sonia Sidhu, Federal Member of Parliament from Brampton South. I would like to begin by acknowledging that we are gathered here today on the traditional territory of the Mississauga of the Credit First Nation. It is great to be with you today in Brampton South, and I want to thank all Roundtable members and also want to give a big shout out to Sheridan, Dr. Janet Morrison, and her whole team, and also want to recognize my MP colleagues, provincial colleagues, municipal colleagues, and all NGOs are here because it's a much needed summit, and I know the panels are coming after that, and we have to find the solution. We have to work together for this, and also want to give you shout out to coming here to join this summit. It's nice to see everyone in person. I know the last 2 years was very difficult for us, and give a big shout out to Sheridan, the vaccine clinic, and that was much needed work, and whole community. I know many NGOs were here who helped the whole community, and thanks for that. International students make significant contributions to our society and to our local economies. Both here in Brampton and across Canada, we all know that. To all international students here with us today, I want to say this: you are making essential contribution in areas that will be key to Canada's future, such as healthcare, science, and research, as Dr. Morrison said that. We are seeing that in action here at Sheridan because we have to find the solution. They need support, and we are all here gathered to find the solution. So I'm thankful to City of Brampton, Sheridan College, community partners, and all Roundtable participants for their leadership in organizing this important summit and their views and sitting in the panels, and that is why I'm here to welcome you. We are here to support one another. Sharing best practices and finding solutions to create a better international student experience is more important than ever. And Canada remains a country of opportunity and possibility. Worldwide, Canada remains one of the top-ranked countries as a destination of choice for international students. At the federal level, we recognize that international students provide significant social, cultural, and economic benefits to campuses and communities here in Brampton and across Canada. Their status may be temporary, but the contribution of international students are lasting. We also hear from many students that their goals is to make Canada their home, and the government of Canada is there to help them. Our government has introduced policies so that students hoping to work in Canada after graduation do not miss out on opportunities because of the pandemic, while ensuring that we meet the urgent needs of our economy for today and tomorrow. We introduced temporary measures on distance learning and gave recent graduates with the temporary status an opportunity to stay longer to gain work experience. But we know that there are some real challenges. The effect of young people navigating in a new culture, especially during COVID-19, has added to student stress. We know there are real social, financial, and other challenges they are facing. To all of you, our message is this: we listen to them, and we are here to find solutions together across all levels of government, and especially from NGOs. Many postgraduate institutions are here. Together, we will continue working with all partners and to ensure international students gain the valuable experience they deserve during the stay in Canada. I look forward to discussing this over the course of the summit because addressing these challenges is a key. We are all committed to the success of the international student program and will continue to listen so we can explore some tangible solution to the hardship some are experiencing. So let's keep work together. I know we are going to meet this challenge. Once again, I want to say thank you very much to all the attendees here today for joining us, and welcome you, and thank you for that. Thank you.
Thank you, MP Sidhu. I'd now like to invite our provincial representative, Graham McGregor, MPP, Brampton North, to the podium.
Good morning, bonjour, namaste, sat sri akal, assalamu alaikum, vanakkam, buongiorno, buenos dias, magandang umaga, neho ma. Thank you all for the warm welcome, and thank you to Sheridan College for hosting this important summit over the next 2 days. My name is Graham McGregor, and I have the pleasure of serving as the Member of Provincial Parliament for Brampton North. I was also recently appointed by the Premier of Ontario to serve as the Parliamentary Assistant to the Minister of Citizenship and Multiculturalism. I'm pleased to be here on behalf of the Premier and our provincial government to help kick off this important summit on improving the international student experience. Ontario is an international powerhouse when it comes to post-secondary education. Students come from all over the globe to study at our world-class institutions, including the world-class institution that we're here today, Sheridan College. As one of Brampton's MPPs, let me say what an honor it is to have Sheridan here in our city, and how proud we are every time a student from abroad, be they from India, from China, from East Asia, from South America, from Africa, anywhere in the world, the pride that we feel when they choose to make Brampton their home in pursuit of a better life and a better education. Ontario is a land of incredible opportunity where anyone can succeed regardless of where you come from, who you love, or how you worship. If you work hard, you and your family can thrive. We aren't without our own challenges. We face a severe housing shortage. We have a healthcare system still recovering from a global pandemic, and the cost of living goes up every day for Ontarians. Many of those problems are magnified for our international student population. We all need to do our part to make things better. Over the course of this summit, we'll have renowned leaders in the room from post-secondary sector, from healthcare, from law enforcement, the nonprofit sector, the business community, and our local and our federal governments. Frankly, you know, this will be a room filled with some very smart people, and when you get a lot of smart people in a room together, they can do some pretty incredible things. I'd like to thank everybody again for their participation at this summit. I'll be back here this morning at 11:45 with some of my provincial colleagues. 11:50, sorry, Region. We'll be here at 11:50 a.m. Let's all do our part, and let's continue to build a positive path forward so that international students continue to receive a world-class education right here in Brampton and right here in Ontario. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. McGregor. Now I'd like to welcome Keith Siegel, President and CEO of Guard.me International Insurance. We are very grateful to Mr. Siegel and his team at Guard.me for their generous support of this week's summit. Welcome, Keith.
Can't see a thing without my glasses. Thank you, Sheldon. As Sheldon said, my name is Keith Siegel. I'm the owner, president, and CEO of Guard.me International Insurance. And on behalf of myself and Clark Hortzing, Vice President of Strategic Partnerships, and everybody else at Guard.me International Insurance, we'd like to thank you for the opportunity to sponsor this event. The late Nelson Mandela once said, "International education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world." International students, whether inbound to Canada or going abroad, experience, observe, understand, and learn to respect other cultures and ways of living. We could solve a lot of problems in this world through understanding, respect for others and other cultures. This is what international education does. For the past 25 years, Guard.me International Insurance's mandate has not only been to supply insurance and mental health, wellness, and learning programs worldwide, but also to assist international education industry by supporting resources, funding programs needed to improve international student experience. We all have an opportunity over the next 2 days to listen, share concerns, ask questions, and discuss solutions. Please keep an open mind. Those of you who represent industry and businesses also play an important role in shaping the future of international education. Thank you for being here and for being ready to offer your support and influence to develop an integrated strategy that will help international students thrive. The results of this summit will affect and hopefully enhance the international student experience here in Brampton and across Canada. Once again, I would like to thank the organizing committee and especially President Dr. Morrison, who, when I asked, how can I help, provided this opportunities to support and participate in this important discussion. Let's have a great summit. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Siegel. It is now my pleasure to kick off today's first panel presentation, the International Student Lived Experience. I'm thrilled that this is the panel that will set the stage for the rest of our event. Our moderator is Achut Kesavan, International Student Advisor at Centennial College. Achut has over 10 years of experience in the field of immigration, ranging from working for a service partner of the Indian Consulate to handling corporate accounts related to global immigration. More recently, he started practicing Canadian immigration as a licensed RCIC. Achut has a master's in business administration from Lakehead University. He has studied and worked across 4 continents and uses his lived experience to inform his work with international students. Achut will be joined by a panel of international students, including Rajveer Singh Vaghela from Sheridan College, Amy Lung from Sheridan College, Leah Ali Trini, Sheridan College, Parina Khosla, York University, Andrew Lagun, Sheridan College, Puneet Kaur Johal, Sheridan College, and Amir Amla, Student Relations Director, Brilliant Mind Groups. Please join me in welcoming our moderator and panelists.
Thank you, Sheldon. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming in today. Thank you, Sheridan, for hosting this summit. Thank you, Rupa, for the really great coordination between all of us panelists over the weekend, and thank you so much. It was great communicating with you and hopefully working with you again in the future. So my name is Achut. I'm one of the international student advisors at Centennial College, and I would like to thank Sheridan for this opportunity to moderate this panel. So the opening panel is about the international student lived experience. The focus of this panel is to highlight the importance of the holistic and seamless international student experience. While we do focus on different stages of the journey for the international student, the presentation itself will speak to the interconnectedness of the different stages and the relevant issues, the supports and actors that can impact the quality of the student service experience. I would like to introduce our panel. I know, Sheldon, you've already introduced, but I'd just like to give a little bit more brief introduction. We have Amir, who came to Canada in 2010 to pursue a postgraduate in business management at Humber College. Prior to moving to Canada, he was a FA with Air India, Thank you. I've had a lot of great experiences with Air India, some not so great, but still. Overall, growing up, I had really a good time flying Air India. So after completing his 2-year program, he began his second career in Canada into building supplies industries and later moved into healthcare. He has held various roles within the project management office in the healthcare industry. He's currently working as a senior project officer with Ontario Health, supporting the Prime Minister's office and launching Provincial Clinical Viewer. Amir is very passionate about supporting the international student community. He's a member and mentor at Toronto Region Immigrant Employment Council, TRIAC, where he supports new immigrants and members hoping to create a career path in the project management field of studies. He also regularly conducts monthly coaching sessions at Humber College and George Brown, and as a student relations director, Amir's role is the voice of the international student community at Brilliant Minds Group, where he forwards the concerns, challenges, and matters faced by students. Please bring your hands together to welcome Amir. Next, we have Puneet Kaur Johal. She's a Sheridan graduate, a recent graduate from Sheridan. She's from India, from Punjab, India. She graduated from the Chemical Engineering Technology program in 2021 as the valedictorian. Great, something I can never achieve. I was never the best student. So anyways, she received the CSCT Silver Medal Award in 2010 from Chemical Institute of Canada and the Wakelin Kogut Award of Excellence in Chemical Sciences in 2021. She's currently working as a research assistant at Sheridan, and she's deeply passionate about learning and research. Her interests include quantum physics, chemical physics, astrophysics. Thank you, Puneet, so much for joining. You'll be a great addition to the panel. Thank you. Next, we have Andrew Ligon. He's from Ukraine, a returning student in residence. He's a peer mentor and second-year student in the Chemical Engineering Technology program at Sheridan. He came to Canada a year ago from Ukraine with an electric passion for science. That's a great way of putting it. Andrew has big plans for his future as a chemical engineer, and he's really eager to share his knowledge with others who are on their way to study in Canada. Thank you, Andrew, for joining. Next, we have Rajveer Singh. He's a Sheridan student from India. He's currently pursuing a diploma in computer technician software engineering, and he's currently in his first year. In the short while, he has become a peer mentor and has served as co-lead marshal at Sheridan Convocation. Thank you, Rajveer, for joining today. Thank you, everyone. Please give him a round of applause. Next, we have Parina Khosla, who is an international student and hoping to become a psychologist someday. She is currently in her 4th year at York University and will be graduating soon. She's excited, but also a little bit scared about what lies ahead, and this is from her bio, it's not me saying that. She came to Canada in 2018 with mixed feelings of fear, joy, and excitement all at once to be in a new country miles away from home. It was definitely not an easy journey, but it's a memorable one so far for her. And the best part was the appreciation she received for studying psychology. Just like every international student, Parina is trying to develop her own individual, unique identity in a diverse country, and she hopes that her journey will get easier in the coming future. Her plan for the near future is to graduate, enjoy the summer, and hopefully get the real world of jobs. Thank you for joining, please, everyone. Next, we have Leah Ali, who is currently a BBA finance student moving into her 2nd year at Sheridan, and she's the club's coordinator for the Hazel McCullen campus at Sheridan. She's from Trinidad and Tobago, and she has been in Canada for the last 7 months and wishes to achieve the success of influencing other international students like her, that with the correct mindset, their educational development will be aligned. Leah, thank you so much for joining. Please, everyone. Last but not least, sorry, Amy, I know you're sitting way back in the end over there. Amy is currently a first-year Sheridan student from Hong Kong studying office administration. She was honored to be the recipient of Sheridan International Outstanding Achievement in a certificate diploma or postgraduate scholarship this summer, spring-summer. During her study at Sheridan, she participated in the first-year Experience Advisory Committee and now works as the campus service ambassador. Her goal is to learn as much as she can and give back where and when she's capable. Furthermore, she truly believes that actions speak louder than words. Thank you so much for joining, Amy. Thank you, everyone, for your time in listening to all the introductions, and let's start our panel. So, I'll start with you, Amir, because you are, you have been in Canada for quite a while, and I think it's best that we give our panelists a sense of comfort before they answer the questions, and perhaps they, you know, your insight can be a trigger for them to be a little bit more conversational as we move along. So in relation to studying in Canada, or at Sheridan for this instance, let's thank our hosts. What were your hopes and aspirations the whole, let's say, 10 years or 12 years ago? Yep. Go ahead, Amir.
So first of all, let me thank each and every one of you for giving me this opportunity to present my, my experience, my feelings, and of course, Brilliant Minds Group, where I represent them today. It's great to see lots and lots of brilliant minds in one room, and I'm sure we're going to have this chain reaction to make more brilliant minds in the future. So going back to your question, it's the experience and the journey has been really, I'll stand because I can't sit at one place, so I need to move around. The experience has been really great. It's been a long one, and it's been the journey. It's not the destination that counts, so it's been the journey, and you learn and you live through each of that experience that you go through. The main challenge is, of course, restarting, rebooting. You already have probably settled in your career, or you are at a stage where you don't want to make that move. You are in that comfort zone, and to get out of that comfort zone is what is the biggest challenge. So once you're out, then you can definitely move forward, and then comes the growth mindset, and then comes all the other opportunities available. If I have some time, because I was told we have 5 to 7 minutes to speak, I had prepared a presentation with regards to some questions that we had. So if you could present my slide, thank you so much. And clicker? Thank you. All right, there you go. So the first question was, what are the hopes and aspirations that we have when we come here? As an international student, again, I had hopes and aspirations, but to one advantage of me was, since I was a flight attendant, I was visiting this country, I was visiting Toronto for a while, so I knew what lies ahead of me. I knew how is the culture here, how is gonna be the weather here, what am I supposed to be prepared. So that gave me an added advantage of visiting the country. In fact, before joining Humber College, I visited the campus. I wanted to see how the campus looks, how the classroom looks, and then I made the move. So that hopes and aspirations, a lot of international students don't have that, and we have to make sure that we are ready and we are prepared for it. Of course, the financial freedom, secured lifestyle, and that's what you're looking for. New culture and landscape. That's something that you have to think about it. You're getting out of that comfort zone and you're going to that new land, in fact. What were the services and gaps that were missing? That was the other question that we had. So of course, the false expectations, you know, the pre-arrival excitement that we have. Oh my gosh, I'm going to this new country, I'm gonna kill it, I'm gonna rock it. And then once you land here, the honeymoon period ends in probably a month, or for some in just 10 days, and then the real struggle begins. So you have to be prepared for it. You just can't come here and then try to figure it out. Lots of international students do that, but I would say it's not the right way. have a plan, have a roadmap, and you're definitely gonna work it out. You will have to also adapt to the cultural adaptations as well as the shocks. So again, from each country, through each country, you have those options, and then you can definitely work on it. 10 years back, we did not have, but now a lot of other colleges, including Sheridan, they go to that visiting country and then they give these information out, the pre-arrival information to the students, so they make them better prepared. The next one is, of course, key stakeholders. So family is, of course, number one. Again, I was fortunate to have a family here, so I was being able to guide, I was coached, I had a little bit of financial support, so that really helps. But of course, even being here with the family, there are struggles. You have to make sure that you overcome those struggles. And then you should have a manager, a mentor. Your professors are the first people or the first coach that you should think about. Because those first year or the 2 years, you really need that support. Yes, you're going to talk to your parents or you're going to talk to your family members on a daily basis. But at some point of time, you're going to know that, okay, I need to work on something. Your peers, your mentors, as well as your classmates are going to be your big support system, because probably 8 hours a day you're going to spend time in the college or in the classroom. The next is, of course, why the summit matters. We've been doing this for a while, and then we need to increase the awareness. We've seen that happen. One of the challenges I've seen is a lot of colleges, they work in silos. We are more competitors than collaborators. So we need to collaborate. Each college need to work together to make sure, and the objective should be for the international student community betterment, right? To make their life better. Building connections. You should have a fresh point of view, and that will definitely matter. Just to sum up my international journey so far for 12 years, as you can see, I started as volunteering at the Humber College International Student Community. I finished my education, started working, got my certifications, project management licenses, certifications, did more and more of volunteer opportunities. I love pets, so I am associated with OSPCA as well. Got some more certifications, got some more awards. I was fortunate to work for one of the large companies, Loblaws, Shoppers Drug Mart, so I got a lot of confidence, and I would say that was my incubator, right? So that really made me grow professionally as well as personally. Started doing presentations at Humber College, started my own magazine that let's get inspired from our journey, let's get inspired from our each journey, and then share that journey. Because somewhere, someone would definitely get inspired for it. Did some more presentations, did some more certifications, joined BMG 2 years back, and that was, again, a sort of new, fresh start where I wanted to, again, give back to the community. When the president and CEO, Dinesh, connected with me, he said, you're doing it only for 10 students at Humber College. Why don't you do it for 100 college or 100 students? And today gives me the opportunity to do it in front of you. It gives me immense pleasure and an immense proudness and pride feeling. Did some more information, and then finally, this is me with my family, 12 years and counting, and we're definitely going to grow further in the next 12 years, 30 years, 15 years. So thank you all, and I hope we learn from each other. Thank you.
Thank you, Amir. Great presentation. Thank you for taking that initiative, because it kind of answered a lot of the questions we had initially, and we will go through the same questions with the panel as well. And I'm sure we have, hopefully we have a bunch of questions from note takers here today or from everyone attending here. We will have a Q&A session towards the end. So let me move on. I know I'll give you the same question. Do you have a presentation as well that you want to give out, or do you want to just start with the first question, where was like, what were your hopes and aspirations before you came into study in Canada, or after you arrived in Canada? Like, what was the, if you can talk a little bit about, yes, the hopes and aspirations before coming here, and how did you manage those expectations? What changed when you arrived here? And a little bit about that, please. Thanks.
Sure. So thank you for the question. First of all, it is really nice to be here. Amir, you did a great presentation. Congratulations. Before I came to Canada, I think I speak on behalf of all the international students. We see the Canadian dream. Personally, my hopes were to excel academically, to get a world-class education, and to graduate. So the first hope is to do really good in whatever field of study you're going in. But other than that, I think it is also about meeting new people. It is about a different country. It's a different culture. It is more than just coming here to study. It is about your whole lifestyle changes. I think everybody is super excited, nervous, and happy to arrive in Canada. It is only after you arrive that you start, you start facing some troubles, problems. Like, it's not as smooth as you would expect it would be. I guess when you come here, I came here after grade 12, as most of the international students do. And that is the time when you're really young. You come to a totally different country. You're miles and miles away from your family, who you spent your entire life with, and everything is new. You want to do good. You want to pay your own bills. You want to do a part-time job. You want to manage it all, and you want to excel at it. It can be really stressful. Other than that, it's not just, like I say, about college, because it is about everything. You're managing everything on your own. You're cooking for yourself. You're cleaning. And all of that, it just seems little things, but everything put together, it is a lot. And I guess I was able to fulfill the hopes and aspirations that I had. I was able to study, get good grades, and get a good job. But I know that the entire process can be stressful. I had a little bit of help, I would say, because I had my family here. Not my family, my grandmother was here. That helped a little. It was smoother than, if nobody had any family or friends here, if you were to do it all on your own. I guess I was a little lucky. Thank you.
Thank you, Puneet. Amy, let me shoot the question to you regarding what were your hopes and aspirations, because you mentioned you arrived from Hong Kong, right? Yeah, sorry. So I want to get a different perspective for someone coming from a region where, yes, it's there in the news, we have different issues going on. So I just wanted to kind of give an opposite opinion, not just an opinion, but an insight on what it would be for someone coming from Hong Kong with the current situation there. What did you see as your hopes in achieving and coming into Canada, and what was your path?
Yeah, so I would say before coming to Canada, I actually worked in the hotel and industry. So, but because of the pandemic, I paused a little bit of my career, and then I decided to continue my study. But then I chose to come to Canada. Canada was my first choice because not only because of the high quality of education, it's also because Canada is a country who embraces the different cultural openness to new ideas, freedom, and also it provides welcoming environment for newcomers. I believe this is very important because when you step out to your comfort zone, moving like really far away, like Hong Kong is 12 hours apart. So you will be totally like separated by your family, because if you're working the day, they probably they will be sleeping. So if you would like to seek support or seek help, so it's kind of difficult. But I'm so happy and that I made the right choice to Canada, because I can see in my college the professors are very supportive, and because of that, other than my course professor, and there are lots of counseling and supportive throughout the college. So I'm grateful that I've chosen to Canada. And also another idea is that why I chose Canada, because I understand like the government is doing a lot of work resuming the economy. And it has a record growth since last year, after the pandemic issue. So and Ontario is leading and has the most diverse industry. So so as I'm studying under the business faculty, so I'm confident and optimistic. After graduation, I will have a really good career prospect.
Okay, thanks, Amy. Parina, I pose the same question to you. Now you're a student at York University and graduating this year, yes, yeah, and becoming a psychologist. So let's get your perspective, because I believe you're the only one here who's doing a program in a university, right? So it's a different experience compared to doing a program at a DLI where it's more career focused, and of course not that yours is not career focused, but I meant you're doing a longer program. So what's your take? What were your aspirations coming into Canada? Was it always okay, I'm going to be a psychologist, this is the program I wanted, or no? Okay, can we get your insight, please?
Hi everyone. So I had small dreams because I was too young. I was not dreaming really big. I was never even thinking how Canada is going to be like. I just knew I'll have classes, I will be going to the college, and that's all my life will be. But when I moved here, I saw there's something that I wasn't even expecting. Something already mentioned, I will be cooking for myself, I will be cleaning, that was never on my table. I never thought that. So my hopes and aspirations were just I will study well and I might have a job someday. But nobody really told me how tough it was to get a job at the first place. So I feel my hopes were kind of similar to everybody, but just being too naive and too young, I was thinking completely different from what actual Canadian life was. And like mentioned, I was in a university, too huge. I'm thinking, it will be a small classroom, but when I enter the university, I see it's a huge campus. I didn't even know where my class was on the first day. So even finding the classroom where your lecture will be a big achievement. So I think when I enter York University, even in my last year, I feel so lucky when I see myself back in first year. I didn't even know where my class was, and now I'm working on campus, I'm doing everything well. So it's a big achievement. So I feel my hopes were not exactly the same like everybody, but they were kind of in the way that I wanted to do something for myself. And I wanted to be in the field that was more appreciated in Canada as compared to other countries. So I wanted to do something for people's mental health. But when I came here, I was shattered in a way how international students were struggling in terms of their mental health. So I feel I'm still trying to figure out how can I work on my own mental health in terms of what we all go through here. And I feel that's a lot. It can be overwhelming. But definitely Canada is a country welcoming everybody, but not quite sure if we are kind of on the wrong track or the right track, I don't know. But even gathering here, talking about our international student experiences is definitely on the right track. So I feel it's a huge step. Even talking about our hopes and aspirations is huge. So yeah, that's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I move on to Leah, Andrew, and Rajveer, and because you spoke about this important point on mental health and perhaps more focus on services or maybe what the gaps or what, how these gaps can be addressed. In your experience, you know, what do you find missing in terms of services, and how can institutions, how can DLIs address these gaps?
I won't say that there were a lot of gaps. There were many resources available for us. But even from the basic thing, like even if I have to get a bus to go to York, that was quite expensive in terms of what I'm earning and then what I'm spending for my transit. So now if I travel from Brampton to York, I pay $8 for one ride. And that was huge for me. And then I decided I will move nearby campus. Then even finding a house, a safe place, was difficult for me. So that was another gap. I didn't know where to look for a house. I didn't know where to look for a landlord that I can rely on. That was another gap. And then when I entered, I didn't know how to really make friends. I mean, that's hard because we have a different accent, we have a different cultural background, and it might seem easy to go and just say hi and make friends, but that's a huge barrier on our part because maybe it's easier to communicate in your own community, but when you go out, you see a really diverse community. I'm seeing people from countries where I've never been was another gap for me, that how do I approach them? How do I even go and meet them or say hi and ask them if they want to hang out with me? That was another problem. And then another main gap is the financial resources. I feel like OSAP is not available for us. And that's a huge problem because I'm paying more, like even triple than what domestic students are paying, and I can't even work more than 20 hours. That's another gap. So I did not know how to manage my expenses. I was lucky enough to get a student loan. So my parents were providing for my courses. They were providing for my student fees, but I wasn't in a place to ask them for my own expenses. So I needed a job. But then another gap, where do I even look for a job? Where do I even start? I started working at Tim Hortons. That was fine, but then when I started working there were people who were too racialized towards the student community. So another gap, how do I even approach them? So starting off, there were people helping me throughout my journey. I came here in 2018, and if I look back now, I wasn't what I'm now. I might have not even gotten this opportunity to come here and speak if I was in my first year, and if I had gotten, I would just say no, because I did not realize how important my position is here, even if I'm representing other international students. So I feel it works, your journey improves as you keep living here, you keep meeting new people, but there are lots of gaps to be addressed. And I feel financial resources is the huge one that impacted me personally. Because I will be graduating now. As I said, I'm too scared. I'm scared because I have to pay a student loan. And I can pay that for sure, but I need a job. How will I get a job? Maybe I will not be called back just because I have a name that it's not sounding something like a person who belongs here. So I'm scared of that. So there are a lot of things I'm scared of, but then I also know there will be people who will be helping me even to find the job. But that depends upon me, how I go and approach them. Another thing I'm learning. But I feel, there's a lot.
Just on that note, Amir, I know in your presentation you mentioned that you do provide guidance to international students. What would be your take on a situation that not just Perina, but I'm sure hundreds and hundreds of students are facing? So what's your take?
So
you know?
as
Sorry, keep it coming.
No. So as she clearly mentioned that one of the challenges that she faced was she was very naive, she was very young. And that's what I've also seen, and I've noticed that the minimum qualification that we require
to join a college is grade 12. I can definitely say when I just passed grade 12, I was still trying to figure out my life. I didn't know what to do next. I didn't know which course to take. I didn't know which field to go in. And suddenly you've been just moved and transported to a different country altogether, and now you have to try to figure out yourself at the age of 18, 19? It's going to be difficult, and everything is on you. And it's not only that, as she clearly mentioned, that it's not only education, it's not only studies that you have to focus on. You have to focus on housing, rent, bills, food, 20 hours of work. On top of that, the projects that has been given, and they have the deadline. So you're trying to juggle everything, and I clearly believe that minimum qualification should be sort of, let's say, a graduate. So you have some experience, a working experience as well, perhaps, where you know that how to manage, how to maneuver life, how to make sure that you're prepared for it. Students come here and then they start working, they earn in dollars, and then they see, oh, I'm getting good money, let's just go crazy, That's another thing that I've seen, and they don't get that education, they don't get that foundation. So any building, if the foundation is not strong, it's going to collapse. So just like your future or your life, you need to make sure that your foundation is strong. How can you make it strong? Yes, you need to know the basics, you need to have some work experience, you need to have some education, further education, and then you can say, okay, I'm ready for it. The other thing that she clearly mentioned was budgeting, financial challenges, which I feel that when I was studying here, I was not taught how to invest in TFSAs, or how to build for that first home that I need to, how to start my RRSP, things like that. Because the countries that we come back from, nothing is taught there. There is no TFSA or RRSP or a few other things, right? So that was a challenging thing where you had to figure out everything by yourself. Only thing I was given by my bank was a debit card and a credit card, right? And how to spend, what is the rate of return, what is the rate of interest, if I don't pay, what am I going to get in? And a lot of international students do get in trouble, and they, what is the credit score? That's another thing which we have to figure it out, right? So you're learning from here and there and everywhere, but you're not knowing that, okay, where do I go? And then if they don't know, they type Google, and then probably something is right, something is wrong. So you can't always rely on Google. So these are some of the things that I found, and I faced it that, okay, I wish during my 2 years of studies, I had that opportunity to learn for the life, for what I'm doing every day now, instead of just studying and getting that grades and getting that marks.
Thanks. Yeah, sorry if, I don't know if all the mics are working, but if anyone's mic is not working, you can more than come in. At this point, I just want to, before I segue into asking Andrew, Rajveer, and Leah, are there any questions from anyone over here? Yes, sir, please. Yeah, I think there is a mic there if you would like to use the, thank you.
Sorry, I'm not a good speaker or even know what I'm talking about, but there is so much fundamental issues from upper level, like Sonia and do like our MP talk about. So I'm happy, at least I didn't expect that ministry level people will be here. So I'm good that I took 2 days off from my practice and other business things, right, to be here. It is a fundamental problem from upper level. That's where it's starting with my own, like I'm accountant by trade from here, but from India, I came 32 years ago. I was forced to come here, right, under like permanent residence status issue and all that. Too much recession, same time at that time, inflation and all that.
Yep.
There was no fundamental support structure from day one. You can see a lot of literature.
Yeah.
Right, a lot of literature, even regarding taxation, you could find free those guides in Shopper Drug Mart. That's where I became by default accountant, right? In Sheridan College, Humber College, I did in 1990, tried to change my line. I say, okay, I cannot do anything in my civil engineering. Nobody want to give you even co-op opportunity. It's a difference now, like at least after 25, 30 years.
So, if you're focusing on the difference over here.
So
when
as
in 1990 and now, what do you
big
see
difference
as the
is that at least I consider myself a good mentor not looking for the money, because I do a lot of free returns since 2003, thanks to CRA, right? Why? Because they try to force, do this one, that one. When I did the last time in their head office, when I was trying to do my CGA, doing labor job in Magna, right? Having 2 clothing stores, being a business person from 7th grade in India. There are not too many people who lost their father when you're not even 19, right? With a mature mindset. My own 3 kids born here, the biggest excuse they have, oh, we have too much stress, too much all that. So that means fundamentally it is coming from our school system as well, right? I would say not college level, but from high school, the way you mentioned regarding that one. I used to be, last time I came to as a mentor, being alumni for Sheridan and Humber, right? It was the last time 2014 in their Mississauga campus. I was like crying with my daughter. I said, no, these youngsters coming with a +2, right? They say, oh, you have your uncle here, or you have your somebody here, right? And they come. Expectation for the students or their parents in India or other country is that, oh yeah, we have our brother here and all that. And they get fed up. Why? Because the students also have that mindset, oh, I don't want to do anything, right? All that. I still see some of those ones like that. So that way, Canada has provided, good thing is that whether they are ultra rich, that's what I see 3 or 4 already speaking. Like they are lucky that they had that financial background or sports structure. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there are differences in circumstances for everyone. So,
the thing is, Sheridan, like all these big colleges are good, but problem started when you start giving money to those people who want to promote these colleges, not based on the study alone. I remember one of my clients was, I won't name it, I won't mention anything. Humber College also used to pay 20%. Why? If we are giving study or giving something that, right, why we have to bribe somebody?
So I know, I don't want to cut you off. I know we are trying to be on a more solution-focused path. So as I asked earlier, what would your suggestions be?
So one thing is, like I have been trying to tell the students whose are tax return I do free, right? Even I never thought like even for my closest family members, their kids, only one child in the family, they also come here. But luckily, if they ask me or my wife that, oh, which college is good and all that, of course, I would have mentioned my own colleges, right? And still, somebody from there, they will say, yeah, go to Niagara College or go to Windsor or something. They are highly educated people, right? But they are told to go wherever they can get involved.
Got it.
Okay. Right? So fundamentally, I might be going off right?
That's fine.
But it should be starting from federal government. When they at least realize that the international students or newcomers are very good for the economy. Because you will see even their chappals, most expensive one. Doesn't matter they are doing labor job or something, right?
Yeah, so
So I would say that Mrs. Sidhu, our MP, she should be telling our Prime Minister and the main decision maker there.
So this is a perspective from, let's say, the South Asian background, right?
Yeah. So
now, I just want to come back to our panelists right now. So Andrew, you're from Ukraine. You have heard, you've been listening to us for a good 45 minutes, I would say. What is your take as an international student? What was your hopes when you were coming here? What were you trying to achieve? And if you can talk a little bit further about the services available and gaps from your perspective.
Yeah, so Canada, like in many parts of the world, is viewed as the Switzerland of North America. And when coming to here, I was really hoping to live safely, feel accepted, and just have an American life. Because, you know, you see a lot of it in the movies, in the TV series. This is what I was expecting. This is what really happened to me. And my biggest aspiration, of course, was to find a good job here, finish my studies successfully, and get a hands-on experience, which will be relevant both in Canada and in Ukraine, which I'll be able to use for improving, for example, my country or helping Canada. Yeah. It was also my hope to really see how the Western society functions. Why is it so different from developing countries? And get a grasp of the technological advances that are going on in the world right now, because Canada is the center of this advancement. So yeah, coming here was just a perfect opportunity to keep up with the ever-changing world. And yeah, so it's been a year since I came to Canada. It's almost going to be a year this August. And I cannot say that I've had a lot of problems so far. I haven't noticed a lot of gaps in terms of services, but I'd like to comment on the transportation and the housing problems, which the previous speakers have said about. So the transportation, specifically in Brampton, unlike Toronto, it just lacks this fast and reliable transportation. I mean, there are a lot of bus routes, there is GO train station, there are GO buses, but what can you do with a GO bus? You can go get out of Brampton, go to Toronto, and I don't want to go to Toronto every day when I want to walk out. I want to go to Brampton. I don't want to go too far. And yeah, coming from a European town in Ukraine, we had a lot of different types of transport, say trams, trolley buses, water ferries. I like this here. Yeah.
And so in terms of services, now we all know about the situation back home. So for international students, particularly from your region, what are the services, or are there any gaps that can be addressed in that sense? Or have you found that the support has been hopefully exceptional, or there is something more that can be done?
Yeah, going back to that, I think for a lot of Ukrainian and Eastern European students right now, the biggest problem is the finances. Because of the war, it has become harder to make transfers between countries, between Ukraine and Canada. It has become harder for my parents to work. They lost their jobs, for example, especially those working men who are working abroad. They're not allowed to leave the country. And so far, I must tell that little has been done to address this. Of course, some colleges were giving grants and scholarships for Ukrainian and Eastern European students, but that's just not enough. Bluntly speaking, it is not. And this problem with the finances, you can go back home right now, you know, the war's going on there. So you have to stay here. There's no way out. But it's just, you may not have enough money to really afford housing. There are no services which offer affordable housing for students. You have to be an immigrant for that, but not everyone wants to be an immigrant because it is a hard process, which me, as a 17-year-old, is very scared of, and I don't know who really talk to about that. So I wish there could be more services in terms of that, yeah.
Thank you, Andrew. Leah, coming to you, sorry again for the wait as we move on in this discussion. I understand that you are the club coordinator for Hazel McKillen campus, right, at Sheridan? So, sorry, is that working?
I think it's
yeah. Okay, it's working. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, you do have interaction with a lot of students, be it domestic, international. What's your perspective? Is this, before you came to Canada to study, did you have this picture in mind, or what is the reality right now in terms of, okay, I had hoped for this, but it's better, or it's worse, or it's something else can be improved. So address your aspirations and gaps in services that may be addressed, etc.
I'm glad you asked me that question because I'm very real when it comes to addressing my experience in Canada thus far. So I've been in Canada for the last 7 months. I have visited Canada before prior. I was probably 3 when I first came here, so I have experienced like winter and transitioning from a little island in the Caribbean, which is, just like sun and rain, versus experiencing like snow is a big thing for me. And I came in December of last year, and that would have been during COVID. So it was this completely new travel process, having to wear face mask, taking a vaccine to come across. So all of these things were very new to me. In terms of my experience and like what I've been through so far, it is not a very smooth process, if I'm being quite honest. It takes a lot of steps before I could reach this bridge. So before I could even address like my goals, my end goal would be to eventually reside in Canada, and my motivation for this would be my dad, because he actually used to live in Canada before, and he always told me about the opportunities that Canada had, and it's much easier in terms of like, I would say, living somewhere else. I don't like to make comparisons, but Canada has a lot of opportunities in terms of jobs, versus back home. It's pretty much like a mindset. If you're not in a field of doing maybe medicine or being an engineer or a lawyer, they don't see it as anything beyond that. I pursue business. I'm currently pursuing a degree in finance, and I want to be successful in possibly going into the banking industry or something like that. Before I was accepted into Sheridan, I originally applied for supply chain and marketing, and I personally didn't know what I wanted to do. I was kind of just going with the flow. And as they mentioned prior, they had an introduction to new students where they had the entrance scholarship. So I was able to get that, as well as I applied for a scholarship that was sponsored by Scotiabank as well. So within my first semester, which I did virtually, I was able to get that, so that helped a lot financially. So when I came to Canada, I practically got half of my tuition off. In terms of being real with accommodation, I actually was supposed to stay with family, but I don't think people seem to understand that there's a big difference when you come to Canada, because my purpose would be for education and my career. I'm not coming here for a vacation. So when I came here, my family, which would be like on my mom's side, they didn't seem to understand like how much work and effort I put into like what I want to achieve. They were pretty much surprised, like, oh my goodness, you stay up like all morning to study, and like that's the time I probably have to get up to go to work. And those are the sacrifices that I make, and unfortunately my accommodation did not work out. So when I first came to Canada, I was practically by myself for Christmas. I couldn't leave to go anywhere, because when you come into the country, I remember the regulation was you have to quarantine just because of what was going on at the point in time. I had no knowledge of like how to obtain my SIN. I was blanked at least 3 times, and that was an issue for me, because on my study permit I am allowed to work as well. However, as Karina mentioned, that's like a limitation for us. We're not allowed to work full-time, but during our summer periods here, we are allowed to work full-time, but applying.
So Leah, would you say that housing was one of the major issues that you
Oh,
faced?
oh yeah, I was practically living out of a suitcase for like 2 months,
So
but
what's your recommendation? Now you have a
Oh, yeah,
whole
I'm
room
getting
of
to it.
people.
Yeah.
What's your recommendation to?
Actually, I guess things worked out for me in a sense, because with that same scholarship, the money that I tried to save, it ended up going back into on-campus housing. So unfortunately, my home campus, which is in Mississauga, we don't have residents there. We only have residents at Brampton and Oakville. So I tried my best to stay in Oakville because it was closest to me. So I currently do stay there. And in terms of my overall experience in learning stuff, I wasn't too aware of how to move about in terms of transportation. And in moving into res, I think students, like a lot of international students and locals, they helped me personally understand like how to move about or how to commute. And where I originally live, it's a very small island, so it's practically just like buses. We have like a ferry and just cars, but we don't have like trains because it's so small. But I have used trains in the past because I have traveled, and I think in coming here, it just teaches you like how, it shows you how much of a difference there is in terms of what you should know, or like, how should I explain this?
Leah, let me stop you right there, just because of time, and we have
Yeah.
not gotten to Rajveer yet. Now, Rajveer, I'm sorry, I know you're really new into, or it's your first year, you're new into Canada, so I wanted to give you the time to kind of absorb the whole session, just get into the groove of things. So I would like to pose the same question to you. Now, maybe you might be the freshest student or international student in this panel. So your memories would be the most recent. And given that you started, of course, like many of our students over here, they started during the pandemic. Give us your perspective on being an international student in Canada from, let's say, selecting a program. Like what were you looking into when you were thinking about, okay, I need to travel to Canada at this stage of my career? Leah, thank you. I will get back to you for the next question as well.
Hello, everyone. So first, when I started, searching for the courses and colleges and stuff, I had like many things in my mind, like what I should, pursue in terms of which really, come out really good in terms of my career and all the things. But when I, started looking through the courses and all the stuff, that was not, specifically for my, personal interest and all the stuff. Back in country, I did a diploma in computer engineering, and I wanted to pursue my career and wanted to grow in software field. So I opted for the software engineering in Sheridan College. I think that was a really great decision for me because it gave me really great knowledge about the software and stuff. But when I like every student, when I came here, I had like many things on my mind. Actually, this social media is like really impactful in our life. When we move to the new country, we have like a lot of things in our mind while just watching on the social media. So like I thought like the life would be much easier over here and all the stuff, but that was not true. That was surprising for me. And they also show their struggles and all the stuff on the social media, but it looks like it's like a real life. They don't show all the things. So that was really surprising for me. And all the people's, my relatives, my friends who are pursuing their studies over here, I also asked them like how it's gonna be on there and all the stuff. They also provided me a lot of knowledge and the things, but the same thing happened with me, like it was really different from what they explained, because they don't want me to demotivate from coming in a new country and starting my life. But the overall experience what I had till now, it's really great, and that's made me sit over here.
Rajveer, so in your short experience so far as an international student, I'm sure you have accessed different levels of services. Yes. At the institution. So in your, who are the key stakeholders, in your opinion, to give you an exceptional experience, or would you like to give your opinion on, okay, maybe there can be someone in a certain position to give you some other type of services? So What would you say, who are the key stakeholders in your journey so far?
In this thing, I would like to say that there were many things which I experienced, services and all the stuff. But COVID has impacted the service times and all the stuff. So when I came in the country and waiting for my SIN to get, so it was like entire day I have to wait for the get the SIN. And many of the few peoples are paying the other people to stand on the line. And one day it actually happened. I went to the office, Canada Service, and I spent entire day and I got nothing. So yeah, that's
Okay.
how the
So,
things. Yeah.
How would you feel a summit like this? You've had the opportunity to kind of read about this summit. What do you think this summit can do to improve international students' services or the aspirations coming into Canada? Where do you think this summit can kind of take their journey along moving forward? I know it's a heavy loaded question, and maybe it's, I mean, you can give your opinion. There's no right or wrong answer.
Yeah, that's true. The best opinion from me, it's like to experience everything. So we, as an international student, many of the students I have seen, one of my friend, who really struggles and who really, gets scared of doing new things and experiencing some new things. There are many facilities and, services out there. We just need to go there and opt the services, that's it. But, due to the hesitation and all the stuff, they don't do that, and they, end up with nothing. Yeah, that's what I feel.
Thanks, Rajveer.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Leah, just coming back to you, because I know we kind of stopped over there. I would pose the same question to you. Now, I know housing, like that was the major issue that you really struggled with. So would you say, let's say the key stakeholders in your journey as an international student, was it something to do with housing?
Wait, could you just repeat what you just said?
The key stakeholder or key stakeholders in your journey as an international student, whether it's an admissions officer, whether it's an ISA like myself, maybe you didn't get the greatest of experience from someone like me, or was it housing? Like that was the major issue that you faced. Do you think a summit like this can help improve those services? Because housing is something I'm sure a lot of DLIs are facing issues with, not just in GTA, but across Canada. So maybe I think that's something we would like to hear from you.
Yeah, so housing, honestly, is a very important factor because when I came here, my mindset was like I was so ready and just so excited to begin my career here. But the minute that my housing pretty much fell apart, it was impossible for me to think and focus because I'm currently just retaking some courses as well right now at Sheridan. But yeah, in terms of housing, it definitely is challenging. I think we are lucky that they do provide housing for our campuses. Unfortunately, not for Mississauga, which I wish they did. But in terms of finding housing, I wish there were more resources, just because as a newcomer coming to Canada, you wouldn't know too much of who may try to take advantage of you, who might be the right person to go towards. And I'm currently still in the process of relocating because the fact that everything is pretty much going back to in-person residence is full. So there are a lot of students right now, beyond 350 students that are on a wait list at residence. I can't even get back in. So I think housing is very, very important. It serves I don't know, it kind of scares me too, in the sense that if you don't have housing settled, it just makes you feel sort of unstable, because if you don't have a specific environment to study in, then how would you be able to focus? So I wish there could be more resources or offers in educating children as to how to find proper housing. I don't know what else I could really say on it, but
That's great, because
Oh.
I wanted to come back to Puneet on this, because I just want to
Yeah.
give enough time to everyone as well, and keeping in mind the time that we have, I also want to give audiences a chance to ask their questions. So Puneet, in your experiences, who were the key stakeholders to make a difference in your student journey, and how do you believe moving forward a summit like this or future summits like this can help improve the life of international students?
So before I answer that, I would have to tell you about the problems that I faced. So I think two key points where international students face the most problem is when they first arrive here to get a job, and once you graduate, to find a job that will get you your permanent residency. So
it's more to do with permanent residency and finding the right knock job,
Yes.
I would say, right?
But it is also about
and that's something
finding-
I face every day with students as well,
Right.
so I can
It's
imagine.
about finding a job. When I first landed here, I was in my first semester. I couldn't find a job. I got to like a pizza store, and they were paying me $7 an hour. I worked there for 2 days, and I quit. I couldn't. I didn't feel respected. I didn't feel... Is this working? Okay. I didn't feel respected. I just didn't. And for 3 months, I didn't have any job. So the key stakeholders in my life would be my professors, because they referred me. Actually, I got a job at the tutoring center. I got it, and then from there on, I worked as a PAL leader. I worked as a learning assistant. I helped my professors. I worked as a research assistant. From there on, I got those jobs. But outside of campus, well, because of that, I got a job at a private tutoring center. But when students come here and we go for jobs at Tim Hortons or any pizza stores or stuff like that, it's extremely hard. I really commend students who do that, because I couldn't. It was really hard. And I guess after you graduate, you were talking about services and gaps, right?
Well,
So-
yeah, I mean, how do you, like a summit like this, or let's say constantly we have forums like this to address concerns for international students, how do you think you would like summits like this to steer? What direction? What can be the outcome of such summits?
Well, I think first of all, it is important to listen to the students who have lived those experiences and to really understand the root problems. In my experience, while we're in college, we have services. If you're feeling stressed, you have counselors who do free counseling. Well, I experienced the most stress the moment I graduated, because I graduated, one day I'm a student, I have all the facilities and services. Now I graduate and I'm on my own. I'm not a permanent resident, so I'm not a permanent resident of Canada, so I'm not getting those things from Canada, but I'm also not getting those services from college. I'm looking for my lawyer on my own. I don't know how to navigate the immigration process, what to do with which job to get, which knock to go to, financially, how to basically deal with everything. So,
and I think this is a little bit about what Amir, you spoke about earlier when you were saying, okay, let's say from a South Asian background, even that where I'm from, this kind of training in terms of finance is also not sometimes provided. Sorry.
Absolutely.
Sorry, is this mic working? Yeah, okay, thanks.
It is working.
So,
go ahead.
Just following up on Puneet's comment, once an international student has graduated and out of the DLI, what services are available for them? Because they're kind of still temporary residents, they're still applying for their post-graduation work, or they have applied for their post-graduation work permit. What services in the community can they, and I'm sure we have community members here
Of course.
also that can answer those questions as well.
So just going back to Puneet's question on the key stakeholders that she just described, just to add a little bit of humor is the pizza store owner was also a key stakeholder because he taught you that this is not going to be working out for you, and then probably that worst experience made you out of the best experience, right? So just to add that. So again, good experiences and bad experiences do count. And one of the things, of course, we do at BMG is we prepare the students or the international students who have just passed out, make them job ready, make them the labor market ready. Not just them assist with, resume building or coaching sessions or interview tips or just having a mock interviews, but also as just the regular question. I've just graduated. Now, what are my next steps? I'm looking for a first car. What should I do? How do I begin? How do I negotiate? Now I've got my job. How do I start planning for my retirement? Yes, it's a long way, but you have to start. You have to start thinking about it. I'm thinking of bringing my parents from my home country. So I need probably 5K with me. How do I start saving? So these are some of the tips that we talk.
So a summit like this, for example, how do you think a summit like this can help that journey? Like, let's say a post-graduation.
If I had the opportunity and if I had the power, I would have had this summit back in the home country where all the international students are, right? Because here, as you can see, the audience knows about this. They have been through it. Absolutely. But if we were back, or let's say these panelists were back in Hong Kong or India, imagine the number of questions that were coming out at us, and then we would have addressed them, right? Yeah. So the grassroots level, as I said initially, foundation, right? Once your foundation is strong, then probably you can take care of the Canadian winters as well as the Canadian weather, right? So that'll make them strong and that'll make them ready before even coming here, right? So again, we do webinars and we do coaching sessions, but how much can you reach? Yeah. Imagine if you're doing it at the grassroots level, that would definitely make them strong.
Got it. Thank you so much. Now, just taking time into account, I want to open the floor to further questions. Thank you, sir, for your first question for starting out. Yes, please, go ahead. Yeah.
All right, can you guys hear me okay? Okay,
yes.
Awesome. First of all, thank you so much for such an engaging presentation. As someone who came here as an international student myself, I really resonate with a lot of what you guys said. So I run a company called Power. We are a job search platform for international students, technically using technology to solve this employment issue at scale. So my question is, of course, around employment. So first of all, kudos to the organizer to bring a very diverse group of panelists onto the panel today. My question is really around the cultural barriers. So I know that two international students are not the same. You are from Ukraine, India, Hong Kong. One of the things that I'm really curious to hear about is what are some of the cultural barriers that are stopping you or acting as a barriers when it comes to finding employment in Canada? Thank you.
So anyone wants to take the question?
I can go ahead. It's not working. Oh. Okay, I can go ahead. In terms of cultural barriers, I wouldn't say that it's just because on Canada's part something that's lacking. I would say when I am entering a different country on a very young age, what did my country back home teach me? So that's number one step. Like, even not just schools, what are the colleges preparing us for? Are they preparing us for entering the job world? And in terms of the cultural barrier, I feel it's the hesitation depending upon the language that people fear. Sometimes, even if they get a job, there are people being judged, the racialized comments being passed. That's one of the main barriers. And I feel if the person is being welcomed in a way that these barriers are not coming in their path will be a better step. That's what I feel. Yeah, and thank you for the question.
Is there anyone else who wants to tackle it? We have one perspective, but let's say, okay, it's Andrew, for example.
Yeah, I could comment on one thing. This is more of a racism problem, probably. And it is not just about Canada. So when I was applying for part-time jobs for the summer, I was applying to lots of places. And And the biggest culture barrier I think I'm at, not only just the culture barrier, but a lot of people in Brampton are from South Asia, and employers were looking for South Asian workers. So one of the managers he said, well, let's be honest, all of our workers are from India. We're talking our own language with each other, and you will just not fit in. At least this is what they were trying to tell me. And I just didn't feel well about that. Yeah, I think that's what I would like to comment on.
So maybe they can help you. They are helping international students find employment. So perhaps you need to connect once this discussion is done. Is there any other perspective that we can, or can we move on to the next question? I think in terms, just because of time, let's, thank you for your question.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks. Hello.
Hello, good morning everybody. My name is Dinesh Sharma. I'm the founder of Brilliant Minds Group. Amir and I work together to support the international student community. So first of all, thank you to Sheridan College, City of Brampton for putting this summit together. And I want to thank you all the panelists that have been answering the questions and sharing the questions. Thank you, Amir. Thank you, Puneet. Thank you, everybody. Here is a comment that I want to make it here too. There are currently 650,000 international students that are in Canada at the moment. Considering the labor shortage that Canada is experiencing, the international students community is our future workforce. International students are going to meet the labor shortage that Canada is facing. So I understand the challenges that you are having, okay? And I understand all the key stakeholders that are working on it too. As Amir said, we at Brilliant Minds Group are building a community of like-minded organizations, academic, business, community organizations, because we know this is a serious issue and it needs to be tackled heads-on, okay? Whatever we can do on our part of it too, we are committed to do that too. Here is me as a founder of BMG, here is my commitment to international students, and I say this to Amir. Amir, you are a star for us because you've gone through these challenges. You understand what the challenges are, and we are building a pool of mentors like Amir, an army of mentors, those who've gone through this journey and can share the challenges. Puneet and I have known each other for a little while. So Amir, Puneet, we are building a pool of army of mentors that can help not only the current student, but the future students there too. So I just want to share this with you. Thank you everybody for this summit and for this panel for sharing your journey.
Thank you for your comment. Oh, sorry.
Oh, that's okay. So I just wanted to, again, just echo everybody's comments and thank the panel, especially Andrew. I just wanted to say Yaku for just sharing that perspective about that not being able to go home and access and work. That's a really important perspective as well. So Slava Ukraini. The other question I had was many institutions and post-secondary institutions have been creating pre-arrival guides, pre-arrival support. I'm just curious from the panel if anyone accessed that and maybe just your feedback and comments of whether that was positive at all.
I can go to that. So again, during my time at Humber, we did have those packages, and what I found was students get overwhelmed with lots of packages, lots of initiatives, right? So that's where then again they have to decide, oh, which is good for me? Is this one, or is that one, or that one? So if there is only one, probably a single sign on, you log in or you go to that particular person, and then based on that student's requirements, or you make a customized package that, okay, this is what you're looking for, give me those 5 topics of discussion, or give me those 3 important priorities, and then you can address it that way.
Even I remembered, I mean, I could not attend each and every event or each and every session that my college provided to me. Again, the other challenge was students are so focused on studies and GPAs and probably that job or things like that, that they miss out such events.
Yeah.
And again, that college or the education system has to be given or should give that support that, okay, attend this, probably there's definitely going to be some advantages for you to attend, you will learn from it. And again, students forget the overall picture, right? The holistic view, which is education, being a contributor to the country, getting that out of that international and becoming a national or becoming a sort of a citizen. So you have to talk to them about the 30,000 feet view rather than just focusing on that PR or that citizenship or that knock job or things like that.
But I would think a lot of students who, yes, there is studies as one aspect of it, but we all do realize that end of the day, it's betterment of yourself, your family, getting that permanent residency is quite important, right?
But that will eventually come because the student partnership program that I came in, it was a certain thing that, okay, you do this and you're going to get this. It was a set process. But yes, students do get digressed and then they keep on focusing on other careers.
Rajveer, just because you probably arrived the latest into Canada, would you be able to address that question in terms of pre-arrival supports?
Yeah. So there are many pre-arrival supports over there, but I believe I was, not having the access due to the lack of knowledge, and many of my friends did experience that also. Like they wanted to get that facilities or services which is provided by the country and college, but they didn't, not able to get the services because they don't have the ample amount of knowledge about that resource. So yeah, that's the thing, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Rajveer. Sir.
Hi, my name is Yasser. I'm a family physician at a student health clinic. I just wanted to reiterate one of the points that Puneet made that I think is really important for us. When our international students are in school, they have access to a lot of resources and supports that are gone when they graduate. And I think it's really important when we're here over these next 2 days that that's part of the solution that we look at is the supports that we can continue to provide to these students once they're graduated. Because when you lose all those resources and all of a sudden you're in that gray zone where you don't have permanent residency, you don't have OHIP coverage, you don't have access to all those things that were helping you succeed and it's taken away from you, I really think that's a point I'd like to emphasize and for us all to kind of consider and focus on is how we can continue to provide support to our international students once they graduate as well.
Thank you so much for your comment. So I'll be with you, yeah. Go ahead.
Hi, my name's...
Sorry, I didn't realize you were waiting. I apologize. Yeah, go ahead.
My name's Abhishek. I'm an international student. So I believe we gathered here to collaborate and come up with solutions about international students. And it's my belief all a problem needs to be solved is intent to be solved. The solution comes by itself, and Sheridan over the years, I'm from Sheridan, and Sheridan over the years has shown that intent, and I have seen they have progressed from problem to problem. The problems will always come up, we just need to move on to the next one. So I'm just gonna provide some context before I ask my question. So for me, this whole summit, what does it mean for me is we need to recognize what does that international student look like in terms of what they need, what gaps there are for that student, who needs that help to move on to solve their challenge. So for me, and every community member, every member who is present here, for them, that international student might look like something else. They might have different needs. Yeah. I'm just going to describe what that international students look like me, what they look like for me. So for me, that international student, they're probably walking on a walkway. They're thinking about suicide right now because they are too stressed, because they don't have anyone to talk to. Not because nobody wants to talk to them, but because everybody who's around them, they're working equally hard. For me, that student is being exploited by their landlord. For me, that student is being exploited at work. They're being underpaid. They're stressed. that student is being thrown alcohol at and they cannot say anything in a restaurant because they're working under the table for cash and they think they'll be fired or they'll be kicked out of the country.
Yes.
For me, that student doesn't know how to use a credit card or a debit card and they are being charged with NSF fee or overdraft fee. For me, that student has mental health problems, but they don't acknowledge it because they have never been told that mental health problems exist. So Canada, international students add $22 billion to Canadian economy. And you know, this question has always been in the back of my mind. How much I need Canada and how much Canada needs me? It's a very tricky question because students believe we need Canada a lot more than Canada needs us. I think Canada needs us equally as much as we need them. And the question I'm going to pose to the panelists here, how do you help the last person in the line? I'm stealing this phrase from Dr. Janet Morrison. I heard her once, she said she wants to help the last person in the line. So what's one service you think will be the most significant in helping the last person in the line, helping the last international student in the line?
Thank you so much for waiting, and thank you for your perspective and your question. We will close it off with that question. I know there are other people waiting with questions, but just to recap, I think it's a great place to kind of, put a pin on it and stop over there. So please, anyone in the panel would like to answer that question. What would be the one service that could help international students? Amy, go ahead.
I would say because I came to Canada during the pandemic time because all my courses were conducted virtually, so I never met my classmates. I believe this is one thing that is missing on my study, and I would be hoping to have real in-person classes or communication like today. Because for the 2 semester, I couldn't really connect with my classmate outside the lesson. So from my experience, the students, especially in the first semester, when they just came in, they have to deal with a lot of problems that we have mentioned, housing, financing, and also at the same time they have to, because some of them are moving from the high school, the education system, the model, the study mode is totally different from their previous time. So it's a very difficult time for them to adapt. And because of we are all having virtual classes, we miss the peer support. So this is real important because I'm moving forward in my second semester. I took up the role as a campus ambassador. So my role has to be actively connect with the student in campus. And then for the first start at the beginning of the semester, I can really see that if the students come into the campus, if there is a person, a peer who approach them, they can talk a lot and they would tell you I have got a lot of problems and I have got a lot of issues, and you're the person to help them to sort it out and really adapt it and enjoy their study life in here.
Thank you
I would
much,
say
Amy.
the in-person
Sorry, I know
service.
we are past our time.
Answer his last question, just wanted to tell you that that service that I would provide, or everybody should provide, is, I'm sure everybody's heard of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, right? And one of the lifeline is phone a friend, right? So you can be that person that guy or that student can call you anytime and just listen to them, or just be there, just advise them or guide them or coach them wherever you want to be. So that is the service that we all should provide.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you everyone for being really patient with us and listening to all the stories and the perspectives of the students, and of course Amir, ex-student, let's say, over here. Please give it up for Amir, Puneet, Andrew, Rajveer, Parina, Leah, and Amy. I do apologize if some of you didn't get equal amount of time, but I guess that's how the ball is going to go rolling. Thank you so much again, and hope to see you in the future sessions. Thank you.
Thank you very much to our moderator, Achut, and our student panelists. I was listening into the conversation and making notes furiously, but it's also great that we'll have notes available after today's sessions. We're very grateful for the opportunity to hear about our students and alumni and their lived experiences, and you've provided us with a very important foundation for the rest of the summit and for the rest of today, certainly. Before we get into the second panel of this morning, followed by a coffee break after that, I would invite all of our guests and participants who have joined us at some point during the first session that are standing around. There's plenty of seats in the room, especially some close to the front, so if you'd like to sit down, I would encourage you to make your way up, find a seat. There's no formalities, there's no assigned seating, so please make yourself comfortable. And now it's time for our second panel presentation of the morning. In this session, we'll hear from representatives of the International Student Roundtable, a group of key community stakeholders who are united on a shared vision to make Brampton the best practice leader in Canada in supporting international students to thrive. This week's summit is a direct result of their efforts, and this morning they'll share with us about the work of the Roundtable to date and their objectives for the future. Please join me in welcoming our moderator, my esteemed colleague, Christine Sestachik, Vice President, External Relations, Sheridan College. Christine oversees, and I jumped ahead in my notes here, excuse me. Christine oversees communications, marketing, alumni and advancement, government and community relations, and special events at Sheridan. Prior to joining the college in 2013, she ran her own communications consultancy for 10 years, helping colleges, universities, hospitals, and social service agencies to communicate their impact. She also held earlier positions in communications and fundraising at various nonprofits and university faculties. Christine is an avid learner, as those of us who know her also know, and is passionate about higher education and the role it plays to transform people's lives, benefit the economy, and advance social well-being. She was to be joined by our two co-chairs of the Roundtable, Chief Bill Boys of Brampton Fire and Emergency Services, who unfortunately got called away to an emergency, as is, I think, part of the job. But we do have our esteemed colleague, Gurpreet Malhotra, CEO of Indus Community Services, and I'd like to welcome both Christine and Gurpreet to now join us on the stage for our next session.
Morning, Gurpreet. Are these on?
Yeah, they are now.
Great. So thank you, Sheldon, for that kind introduction. This is a really hard act to follow because that was an incredible opening panel with our students, and of course that's who everybody wants to hear from the most. And we are very conscious that we are standing in between, or sitting in between you and your coffee breaks, so we will do our best to keep this a dynamic discussion over the next 20 minutes. In order to start, I'll pass over the mic to Gurpreet to introduce himself.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Gurpreet Malhotra, and I'm privileged to be the CEO of Indus Community Services. It's an agency that's been around for 37 years, providing support to the South Asian communities in Peel and Halton. And I'd like to say we're fiercely multicultural and very pleased to be well represented here at Sheridan today.
So just so that we have a shared understanding to work from, I'm going to kick things off by offering a very brief high-level synopsis of the Roundtable work which got us here today, and you've heard a little bit about it in different people's remarks. Essentially, the Roundtable was an advisory committee consisting of community leaders from the city, from the region, from healthcare, from social service agencies like Indus and PCHS, the Board of Trade, and international student associations, and Sheridan. And we got together with one very clear goal in mind, and that ambition was to make the city of Brampton a best practice leader in Canada for the international student experience. We were really inspired by this theory of collective impact, which was made popular about 10 years ago in the Stanford Social Innovation Review. And what it gave us was a framework to follow for cross-sector collaboration to solve the kind of really difficult, messy, wicked problems that Janet mentioned, because we all know that this isn't a complex issue, requires a really complex and coordinated solution. So over the next 6 months, we started in the fall, we basically took 4 key steps. First of all, we worked as a community group, as a group of collective community-minded people, to define the problem. And we did that by talking about our shared vision of success and about the challenges that each agency or healthcare provider or police or whoever the stakeholder was, how do you see the experience firsthand when it comes to the international students that you serve every day? And once we had a common understanding of the problem, we then turned to find what do we already know about the solutions. So we commissioned a literature review from our esteemed colleague, Dr. Amira El-Masri, who heads up international student education here at Sheridan. And they looked over 180 published sources on what is already known about bettering the international student experience and what can we learn from what the literature already tells us. And a key finding and a key outcome of that work was to really help frame our work going forward into 3 distinct phases. And you heard the students on the panel talk about that. Really, what can be done to better things during the application stage from any country that the student is coming from, what can be done during their academic studies, not just on the academics, but on the holistic range of supports that they can receive from both within the institution and the community partners. And then finally, the transition out of post-secondary studies into the labor market, into that journey to obtain a postgraduate work permit and often on the pathway to permanent residency. So that was the second step. The third step was to ask our roundtable members what are possible solutions. So we asked everybody to think about short, medium, and long-term solutions at each of those 3 distinct phases of the student journey. And specifically, what can all levels of government do, what can post-secondaries do, and what can community services do across that journey. And we came up with about 150 really good, thoughtful suggestions. And after coding and mining and grouping those together, those topics are the topics of your breakout sessions this afternoon, and they are similarly the topics that you'll be discussing at lunchtime. And then finally, to keep the work going and give it some permanency, and to really help us achieve that shared vision of success and that shared desire for the future to make Brampton that best practice leader, we did a lot of research on measures for accountability and for measuring the impact. And we came up with this idea of creating a Brampton charter for international student success. So we researched a lot of charters that exist for post-secondary institutions, including speaking to our colleagues at Colleges and Institutes Canada, who told us how they got the Indigenous Education Protocol off the ground. We spoke to the University of Toronto, who talked to us about how they created their Scarborough Charter for fighting anti-systemic racism, and a few others. So a lot of best practices there, really so that we could create a roadmap for large-scale social change. So with that as our foundation, I'm going to ask Gurpreet to get in on the conversation by asking a few questions from our roundtable co-chair. So Gurpreet, can you tell me a little bit about what sparked your interest and involvement in the effort?
Well, over the last 4 or 5 years, social services have noticed increasing difficulties being experienced by international students. 2-3 years ago, working with Baldev Mutta and his team at Punjabi Community Health Services, Indus and Baldev together, we put together a report entitled Invited and Forgotten, International Students in Crisis. This was released, I guess, almost a year and a half ago or so, and then triggered more and more conversation on the topic. So that's what initially got us more involved, is noticing problems among young people in our communities, and that's why we sought to partner with as many people as possible.
Great, and in reflecting on how and when this effort began and where we are today, what impresses you the most?
Well, it took years of trying to get post-secondary organizations aware of the problems. One of the key things was that international students don't go to their academic institution and say, hey, I'm having a huge problem with my landlord or with my social partners or with my employer, because they're worried you'll deport them. You'll send them home. Very often any student who has a huge problem and is studying away from home, a good solution is to send them back to the support structure at home. So they don't tell you. And so what is really impressive is in a conversation with President Janet Morrison, she pointed out that, look, if even one Sheridan student is experiencing the hardship that we're seeing, given how many different post-secondary institutions are around, that Sheridan as an institution owes it to be able to find a solution, help that person. And that snowballed into this, an opportunity for all of us to hopefully work on a solution.
Yeah, I agree. The fact that we started with an idea and then grounded our work in research and frameworks and attracted so many people. Look at how many people are in the room today and how many more are streaming online. It's just incredible to see that caring and that commitment and that desire to be part of the change. And I hope you noticed the same thing. What really impressed me around the roundtable is that there was no time wasted pointing fingers or laying blame, but really just genuinely trying to find people who are caring and wanting to work together to move forward. In your opinion, Gurpreet, what's the most important thing that can be done to improve the international student experience?
I think one really helpful thing would be, and it's been raised this morning by your panel and by some of the questioners, this 20-hour limit on employment. No domestic student has a limitation on their employment, so this is quite a patriarchal approach that, oh no, you need to study. We are desperate for employees. We also know that many are working many more than 20 hours, and because they're working more than 20 hours, can only legitimately do the 20, the additional hours end up under the table in unsafe work environments, being taken advantage of, or worse. And so the smartest thing to do would be for the federal government, the provincial government, to actually remove that barrier so that young people, whether they be a domestic student or an international student, have the same access to the employment market and therefore to supporting our economy and honestly supporting themselves. And so that would be one really helpful piece.
You're resonating well with the audience, Gurpreet. One of the things that we hear and heard quite often throughout the roundtable discussions as well was this notion of alignment. I think everybody who was at the table and everyone who's in the room today represents organizations that are working at 120% to do everything they can to support students really within everything that's in their full scope of control. And we heard about those gaps as students are transitioning between different phases and don't have those supports. So this notion that we can all come together and kind of map out a solution that's holistic and takes people right across that journey, I hope is something that comes out of this summit too. In your opinion, Gurpreet, what's been your biggest takeaway or unexpected learning that's come out of your participation in this effort?
Well, you're right. Everybody here is working flat out, and everyone here, I'm going to generously say, has got the best interest of the student at heart. And I couch that in being generous because there's a lot of money being made off of these international students, whether it be the publicly assisted colleges, the private colleges, the agents that are involved in finding these students for them, the landlords that sometimes have 10 to 20 people. And if our colleague Chief Bill Boyes, the fire chief, was here, and some might ask, why is the fire chief the co-chair with the social service agency? I kind of get it, but a fire chief, he's scared. He's genuinely scared that one of these houses with 10 to 20 students living in a 3-bedroom typical suburban home with smoke detectors disconnected, that the danger that we face is a disaster about to happen where a fire takes away so many futures. And that's his fear. My issue, if you will, my surprise, is that people understand that, yes, they care about the students, they want the students to do well. My surprise is that there are still so many gaps between what each are doing, so that so many people fall through. That is my surprise, that those gaps are something that we have to jointly work together. And so in a positive way, the surprise is that we have so many people that are willing to say, okay, my silo of work here ends here, but I'm willing to go a little bit out of it and reach hands across a gap with another organization, another part of the system, to hopefully together bridge that gap so then our young people don't fall through those cracks. That's my best surprise.
For sure, and for me too, just seeing that sense of collaboration, commitment, caring, the shared sense of passion, it really reaffirms my belief in humanity, right? And so we're almost at time, or we are at time, so I'll just quickly ask you if you have a final parting thought that you would like to leave the audience.
Well, you represent the people that are connected to international students. You represent the finest minds connected to this problem. The problem cannot be solved by any one of us here, whether that would be IRCC allowing settlement agencies to provide settlement supports and services to international students, which they currently don't allow by regulation. We do anyway. But that kind of a gap bridged by law enforcement around illegal rooming houses, extra supports to students, understanding of the fact that many die by suicide, that funeral homes contact us saying, what's going wrong, that the ultimate sacrifice is being made. Please understand, you have a piece of the solution with you. You inadvertently might be a piece of the problem, but you have a piece of the solution. On your shoulders lies the futures of many, many young people. Please do the best you can over the next 2 days to think outside of a box, to think outside of your silo, to figure out what is the best way we can take care and steward this really precious resource together. Sheridan and the city of Brampton have given us the forum to do this in. We're hoping a charter grows out of this that would be binding and supportive of positive practice. But if you feel stuck, please be honest with the others at the table, and hopefully we can together get unstuck and then deal with this wicked problem.
Absolutely. I think that's the perfect place to leave things on. Thank you for being here today, being here and showing your level of commitment. You are the voices of change. Together we're going to make this happen. When we began this effort, it was all about planning the summit. And I think it's abundantly clear that we're not at the end. We're not at the top of the summit. We're just at the very beginning. So with your help, we really hope to get there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gurpreet and Christine. It is now time for our first coffee break of the day. Having sampled everything in the back of the room, I can vouch for it. We'll convene back here in the gymnasium to resume our program at 11:15, so that gives us a good 20-25 minutes or so. So please enjoy the time together and with some refreshments.
I prefer you. Can I please ask everyone to start taking their seats?
That's okay, no problem. I will, Hello, everyone, and welcome back. If I could have you please make your way to your seats. How is everyone doing? So just like the good morning, how is everybody doing? Okay. Still warming up, that's okay. Welcome back, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the break and had a chance to begin connecting with fellow participants, as well as with our student panelists and other panelists who have presented so far this morning. Rest assured there will be plenty more opportunities to keep those conversations flowing as the day goes on. It is now time for our next panel discussion, and it is my pleasure to introduce to you my colleague, Harinder Mali, for our moderator for this next session. Harinder recently joined Sheridan as Director of Government and Community Relations, Brampton. She brings a wealth of knowledge and experiences, having lived and worked in Brampton her whole life, with senior roles in elected office as School Board Trustee, Member of Provincial Parliament, and Associate Minister of Women's Issues. Most recently, she served as Director of Employment Services at Indus Community Services and has also completed her MBA from Rotman School of Management. She is joined this morning on stage by Ruby Sahota, MP, Brampton North, Shafkat Ali, MP, Brampton Center, and Sonia Sidhu, MP, Brampton South. We are truly honored that all of you could join us today. Over to you, Herinder.
Thank you so much. I want to take this opportunity to welcome all of our MPs that are here today for a conversation with our MPs. So first we have, as Sheldon said, we have Ruby Sahota, MP Sahota from Brampton North, MP Ali from Brampton Centre, and MP Sidhu from Brampton South. We do have regrets from our other two Brampton MPs who couldn't join us today, Minister Kara as well as MP Sidhu. So we will just start right into the conversation. I will move it on to MP Sahota for her opening remarks.
Good morning, everyone. Like mentioned, my name is Ruby Sahota. I'm the Member of Parliament for Brampton North. We have 5 members of Parliament in Brampton. 3 of us are up here today. We work very closely together on issues that arise in anywhere in Brampton, really, because we may represent our different ridings, but I think the issues of Brampton are common. Issues don't stop from, Torbram to Countryside, which is my riding, to or Mayfield to Highway 10, right? They are the same issues that resonate across this great city, and we are all very passionate to serve this city well, to work with our institutions, and many of you belong to great organizations. There is an issue of international students that has been exciting for our city, has also been of concern for other reasons as well, right? It's twofold. We want to make sure we're bringing in great immigration. We want to make sure that people have opportunities that they've always dreamt of in Canada. And many of us, as I see all of the faces here today, have our own immigration stories, or our families have those stories, and we can relate to the struggle, to the issues that many face when they first come to Canada. So I think, for the most part, what me and my colleagues are most passionate and concerned about is making sure that that experience is a good one. And unfortunately, we've all heard stories of where it's not so good. And we're here to learn from you, and hopefully through the questions that get asked today as well, as to how we at the federal level can do something in cooperation with all of you to make that experience the one that they deserve, and one that ends up benefiting Canada as a whole as well. So thank you for having me here today, and I look forward to sharing more thoughts with you along the session.
Thank you. We will move to MP Ali.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Harinderji. It is truly an honor to be here. It is a very important topic we're going to discuss today. As a member of parliament for Brampton Centre, I also have a role in the immigration committee, SIM. And in our first session, we have studied differential outcomes for international students or from different regions. And we had over 20 witnesses came forward who were dealing with the international student institutes and consultants. And also, from there, we have learned a lot. And then there were recommendations towards the international students, which committee has recommended, which is, it's in the final chapter, which is 4th or 5th chapter of that report. If you can look at the SIM report, and you will find it there. A lot of issues has been discussed there. And for the student living in here and dealing with issues of students every day, we get many inquiries related to work permit or renewals or many other issues in our offices. I think this is really important topic, and I thank you, Sheridan, for putting this together, because there is a lot of clarity needed. We have issues which are related to immigrations. We have issues which are related to provincial jurisdiction, and we have issues which are related to municipal jurisdictions. But because the visa issuance is done from the federal government, so everybody looks towards the federal government. So I think that this would empower all of us that how to come together to resolve many issues that international students are facing here. So it's truly an honor to be here. Thank you for having us.
Thank you. And now we're going to move to our local MP, MP Sidhu, for her opening remarks.
Hello everyone, I'm Sani Sidhu, Member of Parliament from Brampton South. Without further ado, I was here early, and with my colleagues, we are here on the panel. As MP Ali said, there is a different jurisdictions from federal, from provincial, from municipal, and all the NGOs. We are here as a federal panel. We are 5 MPs from Brampton. We are all working in one team. So we are here to listen. We are all concerned community here. So let's start. We want to listen to you, and then why we are listening. Listening is so important, so we can come up with a solution to help our international students. Thank you.
Thank you. So we have about 20 minutes now where we'll be taking questions from everybody here today. So if you could please raise your hand, and we'll go through and try to get to all of the questions that we possibly can over the next 20 minutes, and the MPs will be able to provide a response. We do ask that we keep the questions more broad, not referring back to anything that's any kind of a case file or anything that's individual. So my first question is going to come from right here. We go.
Hi, my name is Norma English. I'm a lawyer and Director of Legal Services with North Peel and Dufferin. I remember speaking with you. Thank you very much.
I remember it as well.
Yes, I do. But what I wanted to just address is, and what I was hearing this morning was there's a number of students that are finding it financially challenging. And I'm wondering if the federal government would entertain some kind of program where international students can come in and actually, they're on a pathway, okay? Let's be transparent with each other. They're not here just for an education. They're here to stay and work. And maybe if there's something like the Live-In Caregivers program where people can apply to that, it's not to a specific, say, discipline, or maybe you may want to attach it to disciplines where there's an extreme need for employment to happen, and sometimes we have to go out of the country. Would there be an opportunity to look at programs like that so people can apply for, you know, like a education as well as work permit? And in addition, for those that just want to work and then go back home, I really think that the 20 hours is ridiculous. Because what you're doing is people are going to supplement their income one way or another, whether or not you endorse it. So it would be best not to put them in that vulnerable state.
A great question, and this is a very important one. Actually, one of those recommendations we have put forward in our report is that a limitation of 20 hours a week. And to me, when we look at our students who are residents or citizens, we don't have any limitation for their work hours. So they can work unlimited hours, or they can skip a semester, earn money, and then go back to school. So in my view, we should not have that limitation, and we should expand. To me, this was unfair, and we put forward that recommendation in our committee report to give them opportunity to international student without limitation of hours. So that would, and at second, when I also understand that when a student come here, international student, they actually provide those evidence that they can afford their education abroad, they can afford their expenses. So it's just, it's a two-way of kind of foldy. But as far as working hours concerned, that's our recommendation. So it should be limitless, as we have to our local students. So maybe Ruby want to add something.
MP Ali is mentioning a committee report. Based on committee reports, the recommendation that committees come up with after having many witnesses testify, those are given consideration by the minister and the department, and so we have yet to hear back as to what the result will be. I know Minister Fraser has been open to looking at this issue, to extending the amount of time. There is already flexibility though, however, so everyone is aware that it's, if you work on campus, you can work more than the 20 hours. So you could do 20 hours somewhere and then you can add on campus work as well. I think at one point this was aligned with many other Western countries. It's the same in the US. It's been the same in many other countries as well. There is, however, a balance, I think. There's an argument to be made that there might be a balance that we need to achieve, because if you were to make it, what my colleague has said, limitless, I think there is still some worries and concerns that I've heard from people that perhaps the stress will be and pressure will be on the other side of being able to get your schoolwork done, being able to do what's required. And then if you do not graduate, if you don't obtain what you were initially primarily here for, then you lose out on your postgraduate work permit options and all of the other wonderful options you have after graduation. And we don't want to put students in a spot where we're encouraging them to maybe work limitless hours, although we have to face the reality that some may be doing that, and therefore there are employers that could be taking advantage of them in that situation. So all of those things are being considered. How do we get to that balance that we need?
And on the federal level, as my colleague said, but we also make an easy pathway to PR. And then as a committee recommendations, there's a 35 recommendation is there, but we are always open to, have more suggestions, and Minister Fraser is very open to take our suggestions. That is why we are here today to, even though from this panel, we are also sending the recommendation to the minister too.
I have a question. Out of the summit, this 2-day summit that's going to be happening, because there are issues that we need to work on from different levels, will there be some kind of a report that comes out of it? Is some kind of consensus that might be built, because one person may think one thing and we don't know what everyone else in the room is thinking?
There will be a report coming out of it. We're also trying to develop a charter to make the international student experience better, and hoping that based on the recommendations we hear today, that we develop this charter that organizations will sign on to, and to better support the experience. So can I ask you to go to that mic right, there's mics on either side of the room, so if I could direct you to those, please.
Thank you. I just have a comment to make in response to the earlier MP that expressed the concern that if international students got to work as many hours, if we remove the cap on 20 hours, the concern is that they will not perform well in their education. I find this sort of an approach to international students particularly, and students more generally, a bit patronizing. I think they are adults, they are in this, and they're spending a lot of money, and I think they have their priorities very clearly, and they're pretty responsible. I think that is the approach we need to take in the way we engage international students particularly, but more generally the students. So this, and I think it's better to ask them how they are going to manage these priorities than as adults for us to decide what is good for students and what is not good for them. Thank you.
That's great. and just a quick follow-up for 30 seconds. And the actual parliamentary committee has agreed with you. So I think that's where things are headed, in that direction. I may have been giving a little bit of my personal opinion, but also based on talking to students. I've had student organizations and groups come to my office, and we've had discussions on this very matter. So I've heard mixed opinions from them themselves.
I think the idea here is that I think we're all just looking at different perspectives to support student success. And MP Sohoto is bringing forward her perspective on supporting student success. We had another question, so please go ahead.
All right, so I run a company called Empower. We are a job search platform for international students. So I know that a lot of people talk about employment for international students. It seemed to be a theme today. So one of the questions that I had was around a lot of international students are not applicable to apply for any wage subsidiary. A lot of startups rely on grants to hire interns, and then a lot of Canadian students are able to get Canadian work experience to build a career here, but international students are never applicable for that grant. So any movement on that end, anything that you could help suggest?
So I think when you said when startups were to get grants and when they're doing the hiring process, right? So when they're hiring through startups and they've got a government grant, they're not able to hire international students because of their status.
That's not something I was aware of, so thank you for bringing it up. I don't know if my colleagues have anything to say about that, but hopefully it'll be in the report and it's a good recommendation.
So I think Canada summer job, if the institution can hire that in 20 hours, that what we can do, but because it's a different jurisdictions. So, so that is why, even though if the organization or the NGOs have international students, through Canada summer job, some grants are available to the NGOs. If they want to include international students, it's up to them. They can do that. Yes.
Okay, yeah, sounds good. I guess that's another thing we can discuss at the employment table. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm going to take a question from this side first, and then we'll come back to this side. So, please go ahead.
Hi, myself Naval Gupta. I'm speaking again. I had a privilege to talk to Mr. Abhishek. Coincidentally, my son's name is Abhishek too. He's born in Canada. So I know this angle and that angle, being accountant also, right? So the fundamental thing, all these things can be finished if the government, all government levels start talking to each other. I try to put an article in a global mail and all that. They won't even acknowledge my understanding, right? 27 years, 32 years in the country, have done taxi, I have done every kind of job. Every kind of job you name it, I can tell you that I have that experience either through my customers or through some family members, right? Fundamental thing is when the federal government start behaving like either as a grandfather, you know, multi-family and head of the family, right? And they spoke with the provincial government, and provincial government to city, right? Where, like you can say Mississauga, Brampton, or Oakville and all that. Why these cities are becoming too expensive? Why everybody want to settle here? Because there are too much work under the table. But that's not the problem. Problem is that thing 20 hours or something. Why? You need to analyze you need to analyze when you announcing that you need 400,000 worker or something. Government should have the guts to say that because they are part of our economy, right? After those 400,000, 300,000 we need for the labor market because we need people to work on the front. And thanks to these students who are helping the overall economy.
I'm
right?
sorry,
yeah.
I don't mean to interrupt you. I just kind of want to bring it back to the focus on international students instead
That's
of
what I'm
other
saying.
issues.
No, that's what I'm saying.
I do thank you for your feedback.
Yeah, but just 1 minute more. You can just stop me there, right? That if
can we bring it back to international students? So
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Right yeah.
Why 20 hours thing? Because every single student, when they enter here, they are worrying about, where are we going to find the housing? Where are we going to do the work and all that? Every student is trying to look for a job under the table. It's not their fault. It's the system fault. And who is the one? Starting from the government level. Decision makers. And some of us also I did not let anybody work on my gas station property, which I tried to buy for my son. And
again, we want to just keep it as a broad focus, please.
This one is the most
I think MP Sidhu wants to take an opportunity to respond, so why don't we just hear from MP Sidhu at this point. Thank you so much.
At least a little bit will go to the federal level. right? So that's why I'm here.
No, thank you. Well, we appreciate your feedback, and I will just give MP Sidhu that opportunity to speak to it.
Thank you for your question. Yes, there's a different jurisdictions, but federal level is always there to work with the province and municipalities, and if you see in the back, even though pandemic, 8 out of $10, federal level is always there. Then can I?
Okay, why don't we take it? Why don't we have this? Just be. Okay. I think this is a. And I appreciate that. I'm going to have to. No, and I understand that. I thank you. We can definitely, that's something we can maybe have a conversation about a little bit later. But I think with limited time left, we have about 5 minutes left on the panel. I do want to take our last question for today. So I can take one more question. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. First of all, thanks to Sheridan and all the stakeholders for bringing this International Student Experience Summit together. My name is Manan Gupta, representing Newcom Media and Road today. My question is related to, is addressed to all the MPs. You mentioned that all the jurisdictions have their own unique role, municipal, provincial, and federal. What is the federal government or all the three stakeholders working together? Because recently there was an Auditor General report from Province of Ontario, how the mushrooming growth of private career colleges is impacting the international students. It's not sustainable. So what is the government doing on that? And also I wanted to bring to the attention of Madam Sonia Sidhu that the Canada Summer Jobs Program, it explicitly says that it's not available for international students. So I think there is a huge gap in there. The federal government really needs to open up the Canada Summer Jobs Program for international students so that they can make the best use of resources, opportunities, and not be exploited by so many other stakeholders. So thank you very much.
So I think that question was you wanted to talk a little bit about how the two levels of government are partnering together in terms of the impacts that private colleges have on international students?
Yeah.
Does anybody want to see how?
We all want to address this issue.
Do you want to go? Or? Okay.
So thank you, Mr. Gupta. I know we have many times we have a conversation before on that. So we are all concerned. That is why we are all here to listen to you. As you know, there's some comes under federal level, the visas. Mr. Ali said, Immigration Committee already addressing those issues. We are bringing the witnesses. Even though Dr. Morrison was in the committee, we are just listening to to our community. So that's why we address on federal level the visa stuff, like make easier path to the students. And even though I know there's some NGOs, SOCH, got that funding so they can help the mental health, because the mental health is also impacted. So on the federal level, we are always there. But we also want to work with our provincial or territorial partners and municipal partners too. That is what we are here to listen. And then where at the federal level, we can work with the provincial and territorial partners. We are here, we are ready to work with them. But it comes under, some of them comes under provincial jurisdictions. Thank you.
Thank you. So we have about another couple minutes, so if either MP Ali or MP Sahota want to respond.
I just wanted to add what my colleague said. This is a very important question, and mostly the issues and concern we have listened from witnesses in SIM committee are related to treatment of the student by some institutes, by some consultants. There is many issues I have heard directly from students, which related to living as well, because it was really heartbroken to listen to a story that the living condition of a student here in Brampton, it was unimaginable. I think I have directly had a discussion with the minister, and the minister is his willingness and openness to deal with the issues, it's commendable. Lot of those issues falls under provincial, because we give a visa, but we don't have any jurisdiction over institutes, because that's a provincial jurisdiction, and we're trying to reach out to our provincial counterparts to address and to deal with these issues. And Minister of Immigration's willingness to work with his counterparts on a provincial level, it is there, and we're having discussion with them within our caucus, and hopefully we'll come forward with. I think this program will be it's a great sport to us that we can take this to our ministers and our provincial counterparts. That need is there, and it's really important, and we need to deal with it on an urgently basis. So that's what I wanted to add. Thank you.
Would you like to add more? Okay.
I think my colleagues have already said there are issues there. There are major concerns. It doesn't feel like they get addressed until they end up in the news, and then the schools quickly try to reverse whatever is happening. And I'm talking about some of the smaller colleges that probably many of us have never heard of before that are popping up, or are also associating themselves with public colleges in order to be able to get the students that they need. So those need to be investigated. They need to proactively be investigated, and hopefully in your MPP panel, that issue will be raised. I don't know if you've already had it, or I think you're going to have one next. That really should raise that issue. We have raised it already. It's not that we're going to. I've raised it for years with the MPPs, with the various ministers at the provincial level. So I hope you raise it too, because it is a concern, and I want kids to be able to come here, young people, or whatever age they choose to continue their education, to be able to get a quality, good, meaningful education in Canada, because we don't want to see the reputation of our educational system decline. However, there is no federal minister for education. We do not oversee colleges and universities whatsoever. I know our constituents have a desire for the federal members to go in to colleges and do something about that. We can speak to them. I have picked up the phone and called various colleges when I've gotten certain complaints, just to alert them, to see if that will get them to act and to change what is happening. But I don't, nor do my colleagues, have the ability to go in and investigate any college or university. That really is the role of the province. So this is where we have to work together. We've been addressing that concern. The ministers have also been talking more recently about that issue.
That pretty much wraps up this panel for today. I want to take an opportunity to thank you all for taking the time to be here and to address some of the questions. I know that in conversations prior to the panel, all of our MPs are always available to answer any additional questions you may have via email or phone through their constituency offices. Thank you again for taking the time to be here. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Harinderji, and thank you all. Honestly, this time was not enough. It's just I think we need a lot more time to have discussion on that. And I think on federal level, we're open, and we really need to get into this. You just mentioned these issues, because onus goes on federal level. But we don't have a jurisdiction to go and have an inspection of an institute. Or if we had, I'm just closing it because, and this issues of international student, honestly, some of them are tomorrow's Canadian residents. And it's very close to my heart. And I had challenges when I was growing up for studies, so I have a sensitivity towards international students, and I'm speaking from heart, and that's why I'm more into those issues and hear those stories, and which some stories are like I can't explain. So we need to educate. It's not just a federal government. We need to push our provincial counterparts who have jurisdiction oversight on institutions. I think that's what we need to push for, and thank you. My apologies for getting into that. Thank you.
Thank you again. Thank you again for being here today. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much, MP Sahota, MP Ali, MP Sidhu, and Ms. Mali for that insightful discussion, and for your care, concern, and listening. I was chatting with one of our fellow participants today, Vishal. I hope it's okay to point him out, but he was talking to Janet and I at the break about how this is a heart set of conversations and issues for him. And I think what Janet said to him is that we need as many hearts as we do brains in the conversation. So it's great to see so much care come out of this morning's panel and for our MPs to be willing to listen and engage in that discussion. I will also say, looking around the room, that there appeared to be some confusion or varying levels of knowledge around the summer grant program as well as the federal work study program. And so we'll bring a couple of updates perhaps later in the day just to ensure that that foundational knowledge is consistent across the board. And as we head into more discussions, we have a common place of knowledge to work from. With that being said, it's now my pleasure to introduce two brief presentations from esteemed colleagues, which will examine the Canada-India initiatives on education and international exchange. Please join me in welcoming our esteemed presenters, Mahmouda Aldeen from the Shastri Indo-Canadian Institute, SICI, at the University of Calgary, and Dr. Sharada Srinivasan of the Canada-India Research Centre for Learning and Engagement, CIRCLE, at the University of Guelph.
Hi everyone, thank you for having us here. I'm from Shastri Indo-Canadian Institute, which is, I came all the way from Calgary. We are at the University of Calgary. I have a small presentation. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so I just want to introduce our institute very briefly, and then we will touch upon the subject that we are dealing with today. So Shastri Institute is a consortium of 170 Canadian and Indian universities, and it was born or formed in 1968 with a joint vision of the two then leader. One was the Prime Minister of India, Lal Bahadur Shastri, and our Prime Minister of Canada, Lester B. Pearson. So the two leaders came together back in early 60s, and they thought about to build a connection between India and Canada through academic and cultural linkages. So what we do, we provide actually grants to connect the scholars, academia, and students between Canada and Indian institutions. And in that grant, it's research grant, it's also student mobility, it's faculty mobility. There are grants for various pathway programs, startups, innovations, and we match and map the requirements between our Canadian and Indian member universities, which we said we have 170, 130 in India, and 40 in Canada in all provinces except the three northern territories. So we provide those programs for all these activities that is here, and also we promote Canadian education to India and also bring Indian education to Canada. So this is our mission, to build and strengthen intellectual, scientific, and cultural linkages between Canada and India through facilitating high-level research, innovation, dialogue, exchange, and dissemination. And our core expertise is in the knowledge mobilization, partnership building, mobility, as I said, student and faculty, and also networking. So that's what we do. And this is just a glimpse of our network. The map on the left side is the map of India. And as you can see, we are all over in India because we have 130 universities in India that we work with. And in Canada, we have 40 universities. We have almost coast to coast, except the territories there. So this is our core, strength. 170 universities, the knowledge reservoir that we have there, the connections, the innovation, that all are within our touch. We can deal with them, we can work with them. If there is an issue in India or in Canada, between our resources in the universities, we are able to at least work on the solution. And we have offices. One office is in Canada, which is in the University of Calgary. The other office is in India, in New Delhi. And we have a binational board, and we are, from 68, over 50 years old now. So this is some of the programs that we do, research and student mobility, faculty mobility, knowledge mobilization, partnership building, and the networking. So this is today's issue. We don't directly work with recruiting students like the universities and colleges do, but for us, we really know this is a very impressive number that, I'm talking on behalf of the students that comes from India because we work between Canada and India. And here the number is approximately 250,000, which is a very impressive, great number. And they are living in the 4 provinces that I mentioned there, and they are contributing to our Canadian economy. But as we are hearing, and also we hear it in the media, in the Global Mail, and also from personal conversation, they have a lot of challenges. But we are just from many students. International students come from many countries and challenges are different. We know that. But we're just touching on some common challenges that the Indian student faces, which is the financial pressure. Because many of the students come from really not very rich family economic background. So they come with a lot of debt, either from bank or from relations, or I don't know what, maybe many other sources, but those are not their own money. So they are on pressure when they come here to pay off, and also the other, the cost, the accommodation, the other costs that they need to live here. So, and that brings a lot of, frustration, and then mental health issue, and also, a very fatal decision like suicide. So we really, our purpose today, coming from Calgary to here, is we really want to learn what's going on, and with all the stakeholders and players here, and also beneficiaries, we want to know what's going on, and also we want to help. We want to work together. This is something we thought, we are also thinking in our office in Calgary and also in Delhi, like what to do. And we were thinking, since we work with the research, in the research area, maybe research studies would be one area we can think about. And today, this summit, many more summits like this would be very useful. And then another thing we are currently doing, we are conversing with some partners, ICICI Bank, many of the Indian students know. These bank, and also Main Street Equity is another industry that usually they are in the real estate business. So we are talking with them to see if we can, how we can help to find affordable accommodation for our, Indian students. So that's currently we are talking to them. And also we want to work and collaborate with other partners who are working here on this issue, and we would really want to find a way to help. And we also feel that advocacy program in Canada and in India will help. And it's, I think someone was talking about to start it from home, to inform them from home before coming to Canada, the life of, what they're going to face in Canada. And this is something we are also thinking. We have an office in New Delhi, as I said. We are thinking on advising and counseling, and some kind of services for the Indian students, but we have to learn a lot in this. So with that, I will say thank you. And I'm really happy that I was able to come here. Thank you. Thanks to the organizers for giving me the opportunity to introduce Circle to you. I was initially told I had 2 minutes. Now I think 5? Okay. So 5 minutes to tell you a bit about what Circle does. And I hope during the informal interactions, I'll get an opportunity to hear more about and learn about how Circle can actually engage with some of the issues that are being discussed here. It's very nice to see some friends that I hadn't seen in a long time, and it's also a great opportunity to make some new friends. The Canada-India Research Center for Learning and Engagement is located at the University of Guelph. Circle, like so many things, was born at the cusp of pandemic and crisis. So Circle was approved by the Senate of the University of Guelph in February 2020, and we have existed largely virtually. So this is probably one of the first few in-person interactions that I, as the director, have actually participated in the last 2.5 years, and I think that's true for many of you. Circle catalyzes, showcases, and facilitates research related to India and South Asia, of Indian and South Asian diasporas in Canada. So a lot of universities have some sort of an Asian research center, but we felt the need to actually try and focus a little bit more on the Indian and South Asian issues, whether it is the geographical regions of these two, India and South Asia that I mentioned, or of the communities here. I have myself undertaken research on gender issues related to the Indian community here in Canada, and honestly, considering that we are the largest, one of the largest immigrant communities and the largest international student community in Canada, this is actually a very under-researched population, right? So that itself, really gives a lot of inspiration for a center like Circle to actually be doing the kind of work that it is doing. And we hope in the near future we become the gateway for research, cutting-edge research related to India, South Asia, and their diasporas in Canada. So if you want to learn about research that's happening across any of these groups, Circle is really the gateway. And the way we have set up Gateway is not in a territorial gatekeeping way. It is intended to be an open space, a welcoming space for people of Indian, South Asian origin, but also for people who are interested in Indian and South Asian issues. One of the things that I have learned in all the years that I've spent outside India is, if we want to really come up with policies that are indeed inclusive and equitable, it's very important to speak to, in this context, white colleagues as well as other colleagues. And it's important that white students also understand and appreciate the sort of challenges that, that non-Western students face. So sometimes when we talk about international students, it's like the BBC and CNN referring to the international community, right? So it's the UK, Australia, all white. But we need to kind of really constantly keep bringing the attention back to non-Western international students, and within non-Western international students, student experiences differ. And one of the things that really struck me ever since Circle started its activities in March 2020, we have done lots of discussion groups to understand how is it that Circle, which focuses on research, can engage with different groups, understand the sort of research that needs to be done. And it's just been remarkable how the attention has constantly come back to international student experiences, the challenges that international students face. So whether this was through the interaction we had with community-based organizations working with South Asian communities, or with the student consultations we held during the Delta wave, it was just remarkable to see how the focus kept coming back to the international student experience. And in a small way, like I said, Circle is 2 years old, and given the crisis that universities are facing, Circle does not have a lot of generous funding, research funding, but with the meager resources, what we have done is really create a resource page for international students. And I'm very happy to be here because it's such a fantastic learning opportunity to populate the resource page, but also think of how Circle can really facilitate research, learning, engagement related to the international student experience, especially of students coming from India and South Asia, and of Indian and South Asian origin. With that, I'm going to leave you with the Circle's website. It is canadaindiaresearch.ca. Please have a look at the website, join our mailing list. Like I said, this is supposed to be an open space, so you're most welcome to join Circle. And if you have ideas, if you have suggestions, if you have suggestions for the kinds of people and organizations that we should be connecting with, please let us know. We do not want to reinvent the wheel. We really want to bring forces together and engage to create a better world. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Aldine and Dr. Srinivasan, for sharing your insights, especially on such a short agenda, but we really appreciate you making the journey to present with us today. And I would encourage our participants to find out our colleagues over the next break and speak to them about their research and their practice and explore ways to collaborate together. I'd now like to welcome my colleague Rajan Sandhu, who will moderate our next panel with our local members of Provincial Parliament for Brampton. Rajan serves as Vice President, Strategic Alignment and General Counsel at Sheridan College and is a key member of the Office of the President team. Rajan is a lawyer who has held various positions at Sheridan throughout the last 6 years. His portfolio areas include institutional strategic initiatives, strategic advice to the President, governance, legal services, privacy and access to information, records management, and policies and procedures. Welcome, Rajan. Mr. Sandhu will also be joined by Amarjot Sandhu, MPP for Brampton West, Hardeep Grewal, MPP Brampton East, and Graham McGregor, MPP Brampton North. Rajan, the podium is yours.
Thanks, Sheldon. Good afternoon, everyone. So, first of all, welcome to all of our members of Provincial Parliament from here in Brampton. We have MPP Sandhu, MPP Gurwal, and MPP McGregor. We also received regrets from our other two MPPs here in Brampton. That's Minister Sarkaria and Minister Williams, who are unable to attend today. So how we're going to start this out is I'll give each of you an opportunity to do 2 minutes of opening statements. Then we'll open up to questions from the audience as well. This morning and throughout the day, we've had some great, meaningful conversation and discussion, and we look forward to continuing that with all of you and hope that you can make some contributions to the Brampton Charter that we're working towards. So, MPP Sandhu, I'll start off with you. I know your journey started off in Canada as an international student, so we're hoping that you can start us off this afternoon and tell us a little bit about your journey here in Canada.
Thank you so much, Rajan. Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to see you all. My name is Amarjot Sandhu, and I'm the member of Provincial Parliament from Brampton West. First and foremost, I would like to thank Sheridan College for inviting us here today and for hosting this discussion. You know, being here reminds me of my own journey when I came as an international student back in 2008. And one thing I can tell you is that all of us, we have won a lottery, that we have landed in the best country in the world, a country that is being called as land of opportunities. If we work hard here, if we stay focused, we can achieve anything here. You know, my journey as an international student was challenging like all of you, but eventually it was rewarding. My story demonstrates that if you work hard here, I was always passionate about serving the community. I was always passionate that I want to get into politics and serve the community. And I was very fortunate that I was honored to be elected as the first international student in the Canadian history. And that is because of the country like Canada. Had it been a different country, we would not have got this opportunity, because this country welcomes you with open arms, whether you're coming from India, whether you're coming from China, Pakistan, or any other country, you will get equal opportunities in this country if you work hard. And I really want to thank Sheridan College for hosting this summit and for inviting us today to discuss some the key issues and challenges that are faced by the international student community. There are many challenges, many issues. Time and time again, I had the opportunity to discuss those issues with many of you. I see many people, many familiar faces who are always concerned about the international students. I see my brother Sukhjit Walia is always hosting seminars helping international students. There are many challenges. First challenges right now we see when you come from a country like India or any other country, the main challenge is homesickness. Especially with the students who come after grade 12, you never lived outside of your house, never lived without your parents. So the homesickness is one of the main challenges. Financial burden is another main challenge. And one of the main challenges these days is mental health. It's very sad to see that we have lost many lives. International students have lost their lives because of mental health. And I'm very confident that with the help and guidance of the summits like this, we'll be able to overcome those challenges. And when we work together as a community, we can always overcome those challenges. And we can always help a smooth transition for the international students into Canada. So my advice to all the international students is very simple. Never stop working hard. Never give up on your dreams. Always dream big and always work hard, and you will be able to achieve everything. Once again, thank you so much for having me, and I look forward for a productive discussion here today. Thank you.
Thank you, MPP Sandhu. What I find fascinating about your journey is that you landed in Canada a decade ago, and within a decade you were elected to provincial parliament. So congratulations on that. So MPP Gurwal, I'm going to pass it over to you for a 2-minute opening statement.
Thank you so much. I'd like to thank Sheridan College for this amazing initiative of getting us all together here and this open forum to discuss about the issues that matter to all of us here today, and especially when it comes to the international student community. I just want to echo what my colleague Amarjot Sandhu just mentioned about mental health and integration when it comes to moving from a different country and then settling here. It's a completely different experience, one that I have not personally experienced myself, but I've witnessed many others experience, and the challenges that come with moving away from your family at home into settling into a new country where you're developing new friendships, getting that financial burden, earning money, and settling yourself into a completely new country. And I'd like to work with you all today to help improve that experience, to make Ontario more welcoming than it already is, and continue building on the great work that we've already been doing. So I'd like to thank the college and all of you here today, and I'm very looking forward to hearing all of the questions and concerns of all of you, and then how we can help further in the coming years. Thank you.
Thank you, MPP Gurwal. We look forward to engaging with you further as we build towards this collective impact to make a difference with international students. So MPP McGregor, I know you've been here throughout the day and provided remarks on behalf of the province this morning, so thank you for that. I'll pass it over to you for your opening statement.
Good afternoon, everybody, and I'll echo my colleagues. Thank you not only to Sheridan College, but thank you to everybody that's in this room, having very important discussions about not only the future of Sheridan College, but being a boy from Brampton, in many ways, this is about the future of our city and the future of our province. In Ontario right now, we have almost 400,000 unfilled jobs where we need to step up and increase our labor force. And you know, Ontario at its best, Canada at its best, is a land of almost unlimited opportunity where it doesn't matter where you were born, who you love, how you choose to worship in your own way. If you work hard, you can succeed here. And our job as parliamentarians, specifically provincial parliamentarians, is to do everything that we can to preserve that dream. So we need to actively stand up against discrimination and harassment in all forms, intolerance in all forms, but we also need to make sure we're building an Ontario that's welcoming for young, bright people to come here, work, thrive, and raise families. So that means building roads, right? That means building hospitals. We very much have a healthcare system recovering from a global pandemic. We need to build hospitals. We need to hire more healthcare workers so that there's somewhere to go when you get sick. We need to attract more job creators so that there's places for young people to work. We need to build more houses, right? We have a severe housing shortage in this province and in this city, and you know, quite frankly, there are a lot of established interests out there that don't want to build any more houses. People say, I like my neighborhood the way it is. We don't want more development. We don't want more building. We need parliamentarians, particularly as a millennial Canadian, we need to say yes to building more houses and yes to building more opportunity. So that's a lot of the work that we're focused on. I'm really excited to be here to talk about what we can do to make each and every one of our international students more successful. And I'm excited to answer questions and hear the direct feedback and lived experiences. Thank you.
Thank you, MPP McGregor. So with that, we're going to be opening up the floor to the audience for questions, but we do have somebody at the mic. So just a reminder to everyone that we are focusing on provincial issues at this time. We've already spoken to our federal parliamentarians, and tomorrow you'll get an opportunity to speak to our municipal counterparts as well. So over to you.
Thank you so much, and I'm so appreciative of the conversations we are having here. I work with Pat as well, helping international students land jobs. So I talk to thousands of students, you know, on a monthly basis. So question to the panelists is, we know, you know, within the community we live, that there is a big surge of employment on cash basis. And you know, I'm not going to put the blame on the students, because honestly, earning $1,200 on a 20-hour limit is not a livable wage. So from a student's perspective, if they ever face exploitation at these jobs, what are the protection that is offered to the students if they choose to come up and report these exploitative practices that are happening in the community, and what are the means that are available to them in which they can use, and the help that the government gives them in order to come forward and report these exploitations?
That's an excellent question. So just for our MPPs, this morning or earlier today during the MP panel, there was a lot of discussion about the 20-hour work permit. But this question is more focused on the unfair labor practices and the exploitation that many of our students are facing. So we'll keep it at the provincial level. And if you could respond to this question, that would be great. McGregor, MPP McGregor?
Yeah, first, thank you so much for that question. And it's something that all three of us here on the panel heard about quite a lot. We recently had a provincial election. Hardeep and myself were lucky enough to be elected on June 2nd. Amarjot's been in for 4 years and, you know, re-elected to another successful term. You know, we're fortunate in Ontario to have some of the strongest labor practices and worker protections worldwide. But that is only something that exists if we are vigilant about continuing those protections. So what I would advise for the advice point for anybody, if there's ever a time your employer asks you to do something that is unsafe that would put you into danger, you have every single right to refuse unsafe work. You know, our Ministry of Labor, we have lots of inspectors, lots of workers at the Ministry of Labor that are there to protect that right. There's certainly a helpline I think we can we could provide as well in a complaint process through there. So, first thing, always refuse the unsafe work. Second thing would be always get in touch with the Ministry of Labor. It's unfortunate and certainly something that we hear about. Unfortunately, a lot of students are being exploited, and it is tough, right? The challenges that we're talking about with housing, affordability, these types of things are real challenges that are in many ways magnified for international students. But we, on our side, as Ontario parliamentarians, we need to make sure that the government is working for workers, first and foremost. But certainly, refuse the unsafe work, get in touch with the Ministry of Labor. We have a system designed that, when it's working, that won't, everybody has a right to refuse the unsafe work and they can't face any punitive. But I'll pass it to my colleagues if they have any other.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to what MPP McGregor has just said. When it comes to unsafe work practices, sometimes when a student is new to the country, they're not familiar with all of our labor laws and rights given to you as a student, and there's fears created from the employers or people surrounding that your status in Canada may be affected or other issues in that sense may occur. If you have questions about the law, or if you feel like you are being bullied at the workplace, if you feel like you are being exploited at the workplace, and you just need a clarification on questions and understanding where to go, please feel free to contact our offices as well. We're open for you every day. I mean, if you have questions in that sense about safe labor practices, labor laws, how to get in touch with the ministry, how to get about doing all of this, and then after, even filing a complaint against the employer who's practicing these unsafe labor laws, just get in touch with our offices. We're more than happy to help you, and we're there to support you. So I just wanted to add that message in there.
But can we shed some light on, does that put the student on any risk? Because if they did enter that contract of working on cash basis, the student is at the same exposure as his employer. So for a student to come forward, they're staking their entire investment in this country. And again, I said it's not their fault, it's their fault partly, but is there any kind of protection under that law if a student has entered into that contract on a cash basis?
MPP Sandhu?
No, thank you so much. It's a very important question. Every day we learn and hear about the stories of exploitation of students by their employers. One thing, as both of my colleagues highlighted, that we have a best place system in place. If you ever come across any exploitation by your employer, you can always call the Ministry of Labor or contact our office, and we'll guide you and we'll help you. As they highlighted, Graham highlighted that we have 400,000 jobs that needs to be filled. Those are highly paid jobs, whether it's in skilled trade, whether it's in science, technology, and accounting, lawyers. We have highly paid jobs, and no student should be exploited by their employers. And if you ever feel that you're exploited by your employer, if you're underpaid, you can always contact our office, and we'll guide you the right way, and we can always complain to the Ministry of Labor.
Thank you. So I'm just going to bring it back. I know the individual asking the question was also asking about the climate of fear that a lot of students often experience. They're not sure where to turn or what the consequences are. So it is very helpful, and thank you for offering supports that your offices do provide to your residents. So I'm going to go to the next question. So we have Parman, who is one of our student affairs leaders here at Sheridan and supports a lot of our students. So Parman, I'll hand it over to you.
Thanks, Rajan. My question is that we all know that within our communities there are a lot of negative stereotypes about international students and how they are harming our communities rather than helping them. So MPP Sandhu, you said that you were an international student yourself. So is there anything in particular that your government has planned to combat some of those stereotypes and to really promote the successes and contributions of international students? Thank you.
Thank you. There are a lot of success stories, not only my story. I personally know many international students who are very successful business owners, lawyers, accountants. So there are a lot of success stories, and we highlight those success stories all the time whenever we come to these seminars. And there's another thing, as I highlighted earlier, that there are we as a government, we will always focus what's better for our students. During the course of pandemic, that was a challenging and unprecedented time, especially on the student community as well, on their mental health, their financial burden. And there was one thing that if you ever needs to be hospitalized for any reason, most of the students, they don't have any, insurance. So I and Prabmi Sarkari at the time, I know Hardeep and Graham are just elected, so we highlighted that if international students, they don't have any insurance, if they need to go to the hospital for any reason, they should not be charged anything. So we were very fortunate, very lucky that that request was accepted by the Premier, that if you ever need to be hospitalized for any reason, you don't have to pay anything. There are a lot of international students who came to my office, though they had to be hospitalized for some reason, and their bill was like 100,000, 200,000, and we have always helped them. But again, there are a lot of success stories. We will highlight those success stories all the time, whether it's a lot of you will be coming into politics or going into other fields. Thank you. That's a very important question. Thank you.
Thank you, MPP Sandhu. So I'm going to start wrapping it up, and we don't have time for any more questions, unfortunately. But there are two topics that have come up in other sessions that I want to make sure our members of Provincial Parliament are aware of. And of course, I'm sure you'll be around to talk to some of the members who are here today and participants of the summit. So the two that we haven't been able to touch on, the first is housing. That's come up a number of times on various panels. So I just want to make sure that you're aware of that. And the second is the regulation of colleges, whether that's public colleges or private career colleges. That theme has come up several times as well. So I just want to make sure that as you're engaging with folks, if anyone does have questions in regards to that, they can approach you directly, they can contact your offices. So we greatly appreciate, on behalf of the City of Brampton and Sheridan College and everybody here today, we greatly appreciate your time. And thank you for the public service that you're doing in Brampton and in Ontario. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks. Thank you, MPP Sandhu, MPP Grewal, MPP McGregor, and Mr. Sandhu Rajan for that fantastic discussion. All right, everybody, we have made it to the halfway point for today, and now it's time to take a break, have some lunch, energize your minds for an afternoon full of lively discussion at our working sessions. If you thought this morning felt like work, just wait for the afternoon. To help get your creativity flowing, our lunch today will provide an opportunity to spark those conversations. As you return to the tables after picking up your lunch, you may notice that each table has been labeled with a topic for discussion. We encourage you to join a table based on the issue of interest that you wish to discuss. And if you have any questions about how that works, find myself or somebody with a Sheridan shirt and we'll be able to help clarify the lunchtime discussion process. But it's a conversation, so you should be okay. We ask that each table select a volunteer facilitator and note taker to record some key takeaways for your discussion. Many tables will have a Sheridan note taker already there. You'll find an instruction guide for facilitation and note-taking at your table. At 1:15 then, we'll come back here, and from there, I'll give you the instructions for this afternoon's concurrent workshop format. Thank you, and enjoy your lunch. And if I could ask any afternoon presenters who have a slide deck that they haven't already shared, if you can take that to the media table at the side of the room, and they'll get that loaded up for you. Thank you.